¿Qué lo que mi gente de YouTube? Dije que NBA YoungBoy le dio para abajo a 19 gente. Esto está cabrón. Esto está en diferido. Se lo quise hacer así. Vamos a verlo de un pronto.
NBA YoungBoy had 19 people killed. Would you believe me? Right now, nobody has a bigger buzz in the rap game than YoungBoy. His Massa tour reportedly grossed over $70 million and is on track.
Ok, NBA YoungBoy tiene 70 millones de dólares. Él hizo un tour bien famoso. Ahora mismo está duro. El hombre está prendido. Y dije que tiene 19 gente que le han dado para abajo. Vamos a ver. Dije que lo están investigando. Vamos allá.
To be one of the top 10 earning rap tours in American history. Only the realist YoungBoy fans would know that YoungBoy hadn't touched a stage since March 2020, right before the lockdowns begun, when his Still Flexin' Still Steppin' tour
Ok, so el último tour de él fue el 2020, mi gente.
was cut short after the second stop in Los Angeles.
Fue cancelado el último tour de él por la pandemia.
Unfortunately, by the end of 2020, when the rest of the world was being let out, YoungBoy was being put on a different kind of lockdown. He spent the last
Mi gente, le pusieron su lockdown a NBA YoungBoy. El loco parece hispano ahí, oíste. Parece un hispano. Vamos allá.
5 years in and out of prison and on house arrest, unable to perform, but also making him impossible to kill. But despite all the rumors, he's never actually been charged with murder. He famously
Ok, que a él nunca lo han puesto convicto como por darle para abajo a una gente.
caught double attempted murder charges in 2016, attempting to avenge his murdered cousin Boozilla. In his most
Ok, ya aparentemente sí. Él tuvo tratando como de vengar a su amigo, Godzilla. Está cabrón ese nombre. Está cabrón. Vamos allá.
recent stretch, he spent just under a year behind bars after pleading guilty to numerous charges, including federal gun charges stemming from a heavily armed music video gone wrong, as well as state charges for a devious plot that saw YoungBoy and his friends impersonating doctors in an effort to get their hands on unlimited prescription pills and
Sí, mi gente, soy YoungBoy. El último caso que él tuvo, él estaba tratando como de personificar doctores. ¿A qué me refiero? Oh, yo me llamo Charles de la Cruz y yo necesito un par de prescripciones. ¿Me entiendes? Esa es la vaina.
rank in the state of Utah. These efforts at putting together a drill rapper starter pack robbed YoungBoy of 5
Es una foto como un meme de que sorry, no sorry.
years of his freedom, but between jail stints, he was on house arrest, forced to do nothing but fight his depression, pop pills, and make some of the most groundbreaking gangster rap that had ever been made. YoungBoy was prolific.
Sí, él duró mucho tiempo como que en house arrest. So house arrest viene siendo arresto que tú estás en tu casa, tú no puedes salir. Es arresto domiciliario que se llama, no sé.
With his releases while on house arrest and in jail, releasing 7 albums and 7 mixtapes. All of this while battling for his freedom, meaning that even behind bars, within just a few years, YoungBoy's work rate had surpassed many of the biggest artists in the world, entire careers. But this year, in 2025, he walked free from the federal FCI Talladega prison, getting an early release in March, with one.
So, sí, eso fue cuando él salió, que lo sacaron temprano. Tú sabes, de tener el house arrest, como de tener el arresto domiciliario.
One of his conditions being a whopping 60 months of strict probation. And despite his official rap sheet of serious crimes, an unofficial title of the
Esos son como las fotos de los mugshots.
Murder Man of Baton Rouge, in May 2025, he inexplicably received a presidential pardon from the Slimander-in-Chief himself, Donald Trump. Apparently, this was the direct result of lobbying carried out by political.
So Donald Trump lo perdonó. Bueno, Donald Trump anda perdonando gente. Yo creo que así fue con Cora Black, que Donald Trump lo perdonó. Pero es que Donald Trump sabe por qué, porque NBA YoungBoy beneficia a la economía de Estados Unidos. ¿Me entiendes? So,
heavyweight DJ Academics, who was the one who asked Trump's son to pardon YoungBoy during a campaign stream.
A lot of people are asking. There's a
es el hijo de Donald Trump, parece.
guy who's a beloved. You know, he's just a misunderstood guy actually. His name is NBA YoungBoy.
Ahí es lo que lo perdona, vamos a decir, Academics le dice, oh, tú puedes decirle a Donald Trump en caso de que tú me lo puedes perdonar a este muchacho. Vamos a seguir.
This presidential pardon cleared the path for YoungBoy to have a fresh start, not just getting back his freedom, but freeing him from any probation or restrictions that would have prevented him from flying around America or the world on tour. And he would
Sí, mi gente. So, él ya como que terminó el tour recientemente, eso lo sabemos, como que sacó 70 millones de dólares. Fue uno de los top 5, creo. Más como que... ¡Conseguido dinero! ¡Money!
return almost 5 years on from his cancelled 2020 tour in 2025, embarking on his Make America Slime Again tour in honor of Donald Trump. His shows would go from
Fue en honor a Donald Trump, por eso creo que tiene la Make America Great Again. Bueno, tiene que estar frío con el papatrón.
theaters that at their largest held a few thousand people to selling out almost 20,000 person venues like the Crypto Arena, and reportedly making anywhere from $800,000 to close to $2 million per show.
El DH por show. 800,000 a 1.6 millones. Wow. Está cabrón.
Releasing 2 more full-length albums before the tour even ended, and
No
cementing his
algo más.
place as perhaps the most successful street rapper of all time, with an estimated 31 million albums sold, over 48 billion streams, and a
Sí, mi gente, so él tiene 48 billones de streams y 31 millones de álbum que vendió.
whopping 41 full-length projects in his catalogue at the time of recording. But behind the success, there's a dark secret. YoungBoy was rumoured to have been able to make as much as $100 million per year from his insanely successful gangster rap career.
Ok, so él estaba supuesto a hacer 100 millones el anterior año.
Numbers that frankly many people would kill for, or perhaps in this case, kill to protect. Like many gangster rappers in this generation, YoungBoy has been accused of having people murdered. In this
So, él es acusado como que de darle para abajo a la gente, vamos a ver.
case, over a dozen people have allegedly been murdered in order to protect his 9-figure gangster rap empire. Actually,
Ok, que más de una docena de personas han salido del servidor por protegerlo a él, o a proteger como su imagen.
it's less that he's been accused of organizing over a dozen murders, and more like he's actually confessed to organizing over a dozen murders, with
Que él confesó organizar esas 12 matanzas. Está cabrón esto, mi gente, está cabrón.
numerous lyrics over the years seeing YoungBoy rapping about murder and references to a body count that seem to grow year by year. From
Ok, él está diciendo como que él lo dice en sus canciones, básicamente como tirando como que indirectas, tú sabes, a los tipos King Von.
at least one alleged body in the mid-2010s when he first started rapping, only age 16, to seemingly confessing to having 3 bodies and subtracting 2 attempts or losses around 2019 to
So, él está diciendo como que es que como que el countdown de él va subiendo, como de gente que le ha dado para abajo.
shockingly claiming at least 3 times to have a total of 7 bodies by 2020. His kill count would appear to rise to 12 plus a child by 2022. By
El loco está jugando Fortnite. Si tú quieres jugar Fortnite conmigo, aquí está mi mapa, el número de mi mapa, está activo aquí.
March 2024, he was claiming to be responsible for 15 murders, and apparently he would reach a grand total of 19 bodies by June 2024.
En junio 2024, según lo que NBA YoungBoy dice.
Baton Rouge police are looking into a deadly shooting that claimed the life of a local rapper.
When an unknown suspect in a red Chevy Trailblazer
G wasn't quick enough.
The shooting death of a local rapper.
Está gordito ese. O ese. Ay, Dios mío.
Baton Rouge police say the local rapper was shot and killed at his home at Lakeside Villa Apartments on Wellwood Drive after midnight.
The deadly shooting
4.
of a student walking home from school.
New details surrounding a violent crime that happened
Loco, el FBI no le llega este pana. El hueso.
here around 7:15 Saturday night.
Well, police are trying to get to the bottom of a drive-by shooting in Baton Rouge.
Police say someone shot Jason Nixon several times.
Hey, look, hanging out the one that's trying to flood them on the interstate.
Today, Baton Rouge police
Dios mío, estoy contando.
named the 2 people killed on River Road last night.
2 people were killed and 2 others were sent to a hospital.
We now know the name of the person killed in a shooting in Baton Rouge.
Police say 24-year-old Deontay Veal was shot and killed.
Investigators say 23-year-old Tremaine Phillips
Ah, pues que no es mentira la vaina.
died.
Breaking tonight, 1 person dead after a shooting on Sherwood Common Boulevard.
Person shot and killed along North Acadian. 30-year-old Jawan Alisi was shot to death.
Just know that ain't my work, man.
They are looking
Hay uno limpiándose de que... Solo... Ustedes saben que eso no fui yo, ¿verdad?
for information on the shooting death of this man here.
And this isn't some huge secret. In fact, I discussed in my previous video, YoungBoy, Real Killer or Fake Gangster, which I made a couple years ago when his body count was still at 12. But the truth is, YoungBoy isn't the person pulling the triggers and committing these murders personally. He openly raps about contracting killers.
Que él no es el que le está dando para abajo, pero él dice, yo le puse los cuartos, yo le di el dinero para darle para abajo.
Over 7 times, never even seeing the face of the people doing the hits, although his 2016 double attempted murder charges would prove that he's clearly capable of pulling the trigger if it came to it. In efforts to prevent him bailing out on his prior charges, the FBI have openly labeled YoungBoy as the known leader of a violent Louisiana gang. And
Mi gente, él es uno de los líderes de Luisiana. Bueno, eso es algo injustificable, en verdad, porque eso ya es algo como certificado, yo creo. Nada más por los cuartos, ya yo le digo líder, líder, mi líder. No, pero relajando, ese... Ya estoy hablando mucho, dale.
Truth is, he is literally surrounded by shooters at all times, with a number of the most notorious shooters in the South being affiliated with his NBA or Never Broke Again record label and his alleged 4K Trey Street Gang and their allies state to state, meaning that wherever YoungBoy goes, he's accompanied by countless crash outs who are ready and willing to shoot and catch bodies to protect YoungBoy and his multi-million-dollar interests. So in this video, I'll answer once and for all, are all of these murders and murderers the secret ingredient to YoungBoy's gangster rap empire? Does YoungBoy really need shooters around him at all times to make sure he stays alive and that his rivals die early, or is he...
Ok, lo están comparando con Lil Durk, que como que cómo va a ser el destino de él, si él va a darle para abajo a todos sus enemigos y va a triunfar, o va a terminar como Lil Durk, de que lo van a agarrar los federales.
Going to get taken down by the feds, who might well still be at this very second working tirelessly to solve these murders while he's reaching the peak of his career. Well, in this video, I have all of the answers, as I'll reveal one by one the gruesome truth behind each and every one of YoungBoy's alleged 19 murder victims, which have never before been identified publicly until now.
Wow.
But before we go any further, I just want to warn you, this video contains themes of death, murder, and violence. If you're...
Ay. Que vamos a darte un warning que esto tiene... contiene violencia, contiene cosas malas. No me habla mucho de eso.
If you're uncomfortable with any of these tragic themes, you might want to choose the tragic story behind her. Much of the information that have been circulated...
Le estoy dando para adelante. Él se está limpiando, básicamente está limpiando.
This video has been heavily censored in order to comply with YouTube's community and advertiser guidelines.
Ok, sí, que es básicamente que taparon cosas como para que... Ah, no, pero me va a dar un advertisement ahora. No. Vamos a darle para allá.
Keep watching and get ready to hear the single most insane story in gangster rap that you will ever hear.
Ok, vamos allá.
Years before the sold-out stadiums, the 40 billion streams, and the countless Reddit posts...
Ok, esto es relleno, mi gente. No quiero darle de que mucho relleno. Vamos con la víctima.
Rouge, Louisiana. His real name is Kentrell Deshaun Golden, and he was...
Es el nombre de NBA YoungBoy, Kentrell Deshaun Golden.
Was born in 1999 in Baton Rouge.
Oh, él un año más joven que yo, so 1999.
Where he grew up in the city's north side, around 38.
El diablo, loco, YoungBoy siempre se ha parado igual. Mírenlo ahí. Ese igualito a él.
Street and Chippewa, suffering a turbulent childhood overshadowed by violence and tragedy, in part due to his father getting a 55-year sentence for armed robbery and attempt.
Wow, so es el papá de NBA YoungBoy y le dieron 55 años en la cárcel por, vamos a decir, robo a mano armada.
Murder and the death of his beloved grandmother who raised him. This all led to...
Y la abuela que básicamente lo crió, tú sabes, pasó a mejor vida. Dios lo cuide. Rest in peace.
YoungBoy being sent to a group home where he would suffer severe abuse and bullying before he would eventually start a life of crime of his own during his teenage years, doing home invasions and robberies that would eventually land him in juvenile detention. It was during...
So, él estaba en la calle de muy joven, haciendo, tú sabes, robando casa, haciendo de todo en la calle, básicamente.
This time that YoungBoy finally found his purpose through writing rhymes, and upon his release, he began recording low-quality songs at home with his friend and roommate OG33 using...
Ok, él comenzó como que a grabar, básicamente, él comenzó como que le gustó la música, comenzó a grabarse.
Cheap microphone from Walmart. It didn't take him...
Y comenzó con un micrófono de Walmart, mi gente. Algo barato, para que ustedes vean que no hay excusa.
Long to pick up a buzz in the Baton Rouge street rap scene, and he soon aligned himself with a local rap label and borderline gang, known as Top Boy Gorilla, or TBG, led by rap...
Ok, es el label, ese es su primer label, Top Boy Gang, o TBG.
Rappers G Money and Fredo Bang. Unfortunately, one of the first
Que estaban con G Money y Fredo Bang. So, esos son básicamente como otros artistas que estaban del label.
people to give YoungBoy a leg up in his career would wind up being the first of many people that would be murdered to protect that career.
Y una de las primeras personas que lo ayudó es la primera persona que le van a dar para abajo. G Money. Ok, yo le voy a dar la historia de este porque yo me lo sé. Él se metió con su hermana, básicamente, con la hermana de NBA YoungBoy. Y después que NBA YoungBoy como que estaba subiendo la fama de él como que se quiso agarrar del sonido de NBA YoungBoy. Y comenzó como a burlarse de él, como que, oh, ese chamaquito no es de nada. Como que, mira, yo me metí con su hermana. Él no le molestaba antes porque NBA YoungBoy como que lo admiraba de pequeño, pero después como que él quiso burlarse de él. Vamos a ver.
YoungBoy would eventually release his first mixtape, Life Before Fame, under the TBG label in 2015, but soon issues like
Como la vida antes de la fama. Ese es su primer mixtape.
jealousy, disputes over money, and street beefs seemed to cause a falling out between YoungBoy and TBG, and in the aftermath, he and his close friend OG33 branched off and started their own movement that would eventually be worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Ok, so NBA YoungBoy después se salió y como que quiso hacer su propio movimiento, que fue NBA YoungBoy. So, Never Broke Again. I'm sorry. Never Broke Again fue su label que él creó. Es como, básicamente, nunca más sin dinero. O nunca me verán con dinero. Sin dinero. Nunca me verán con dinero soy yo. Pero más o menos eso es lo que significa.
I'm of course talking about NBA, aka Never Broke Again, which became both a rap label and a tight-knit crew of YoungBoy's closest friends, as well as his most prolific shooters and killers. This included infamous...
Ok, que ahí también están los tiradores de él. Y que él básicamente como contrata gente con su label. Algo así hizo Lil Durk. Y lo pusieron en la corte y eso. Ustedes saben algo que yo veo como que del coro de él. De que él usa también la vaina verde. La vaina verde de los popotes. El loco la usa también.
Figures like Ben 10, Big B, Herm, Montana, Michi Baby, KD, Lil Pap, and Baba.
Esos son como el coro de él.
Just to mention a few. Moreover, in countless lyrics, YoungBoy and other NBA members would claim allegiance to a gang known as 4KT or 4K Trey, which appears...
Ese como que también están diciendo como que esa es la ganga de ellos. 4KT. 4K.
To be a larger street alliance in Baton Rouge, and possibly also in other cities that YoungBoy and his friends would represent. There's been endless debate about the
popote. No,
true underlying meaning of 4K Trey. Some have suggested it refers to those who kill for YoungBoy or killing for Kentrell. Others have suggested...
Ok, so significa killing for YoungBoy. So, o for Kentrell, porque Kentrell es el nombre de él.
That it actually referred to the beef with TBG from the south side of Baton Rouge who rep the 4, saying that they're 4K or 4 killers and that they banged the 3 or the Trey, while others have suggested that it refers to...
Esos son rumores de qué es lo que significa. No sabemos. Eso es más o menos lo que están pusiendo.
Forever killing the ops. But whatever the true meaning, the broader national alliance of this gang appears to be within the Bloods, more specifically the notorious East Coast originated Blood faction known as...
Ok, como que la ganga es afiliada como a los Bloods.
Money Murder or SMM, who are known for sometimes representing themselves with the bright green color instead of the traditional red.
Ok, so eso yo no lo sabía, que los Bloods se representaban también con el color verde. Primera vez que veo eso. Yo, a toda la gente y la gente sabe que el color verde es de los trinitarios. República Dominicana, patria.
Also making use of other symbolism based on this color theme, like calling each other slime. But
Pero eso no es nada, no me maten, No, por si acaso.
before NBA or 4K Trey would allegedly commit their first murder, they would suffer a tragic loss of their own, which led to one of the only incidents where YoungBoy himself had been confirmed to have personally been involved in a shooting. These events...
Ok, ese fue su primer incidente, que él como que personalmente estaba envuelto en un tiroteo.
Gun unfolding when YoungBoy's cousin Boozilla, affiliated with a crew known as BBG or Bottom Boy Gorillas, was gunned down in November 2016. BBG was a direct rival to TBG, the label and gang that YoungBoy declined to sign to, who had since turned from YoungBoy.
Ok, so ese es como que un rival. Pues entonces ya no son record label, ya son rivales también gangueros. Ya tú sabes.
his acquaintances to his main rivals. In the aftermath of Boozilla's murder, YoungBoy would wind up catching a double attempted murder charge for a shooting incident where he and other known NBA
So, él, ahí fue donde él tuvo como que un doble atentado a...
members tried to avenge Boozilla's death. The following year, in
Atentado a salir del servidor, tú sabes, a sacar par de gente del servidor.
2017, YoungBoy would plead guilty to aggravated assault and ended up getting a suspended sentence in this case. Effectively, the judge had been very merciful and granted him a second chance at life in his career with strict conditions. Soon after his
So, básicamente el juez lo chanceó esa primera vez. Es que, bueno, de ahí tuvo que haber conexiones, mi gente. Eso pasa cuando ya tú tienes cuarto, tienes tu par de pesos. Y él era muy joven en ese tiempo.
release, he would hit the big leagues with his music, dropping the coveted AI YoungBoy mixtape, charting on Billboard, and signing a $2 million deal with Atlantic Records.
Ahí fue donde él comenzó, como que comenzó a subir heavy. Es que imagínate, después de ese sonido.
But while YoungBoy's career was reaching new heights, his feud with TBG would intensify, and his former friend G Money would soon become his biggest rival. G Money would begin dissing YoungBoy with dedicated tracks.
A eso es lo que yo le dije, como que se quiso agarrar el sonido de YoungBoy. Ustedes ven, después que YoungBoy estaba subiendo ya, que estaba rompiendo, mira dónde está TBG ahora tirándole a YoungBoy.
Like WNBA Smoke, where he appears to threaten to send his shooters at YoungBoy and the NBA crew, rapping that if you take it there with him, you're not going to make it back. YoungBoy would fire back in songs such as Ride On 'Em, with chilling lyrics claiming that the only way the beef would end was with G-Money getting shot, and even hinting that he'd put a bag on his head. Now,
Ok, so G-Money básicamente le estaba tirando y NBA YoungBoy le respondió en su lírica, como en sus canciones. Le dijo, la única manera que eso se va a terminar de verdad es cuando yo te dé para abajo a ti, porque tú estás jodiendo mucho. Lo dijo él. Yo le pongo su sazón, pero él lo dijo.
Before we go any further, I just want to make one thing clear. You can hate on YoungBoy all you want, and you can call me the feds, but this is a dangerous man who warns his enemies and tells them exactly what's going to happen to them. G-Money...
Él le dijo, como él está diciendo, como que NBA YoungBoy es una persona que es artista, pero también es alguien que es muy peligroso y te dice qué es lo que te va a pasar. Él te dice, yo te voy a dar para abajo a ti a las 3 de la tarde, mañana, así que cuídate.
was warned what would happen in 2017 if he kept playing with YoungBoy, but he didn't take these warnings seriously, and he wound up being the first of many who unfortunately found out the hard way that nothing can get in the way of the NBA empire. The conflict kept...
So, él básicamente lo vio de una manera muy difícil, o vamos a decir, él no entendía el poder de YoungBoy, así que lo tuvo que experimentar por su propia cuenta.
Escalating throughout 2017 as both sides would go back and forth on social media.
Yeah, that little like my little partner. He used to be like my little brother. He stayed with me and everything. Everything was still all good until he started, you know what I'm saying, like doing his own thing, getting them a little buzz, getting a little money. He just got the big... He mad about it.
Él está ahí básicamente diciendo como que él era amigo mío, pero después que él consiguió dinero, no, él se fue de tu label, por algo él se fue. Por algo él se fue. So...
Sister too, though. About his sister? Yeah, I had a long time ago.
Oye, que ahora él lo hizo público, de que él la cingó a la hermana de él. Tú ves, tú te hubieras quedado callado con eso y tú estuvieras vivo. Creo yo.
She don't like me or something. I'm about beefing. What it is? I don't like you. I'm gonna keep on it. I don't like you.
Ahí él está diciendo, mira, tú como que quieres, yo no te agrado o algo, y yo te voy a decir la verdad. Tú no me agrada, loco, al 100, tú no me agrada.
G-Money wanted all
Ahí él está diciendo de que mierda lo que tú dices, yo no quiero como, yo no estoy en agradarte a ti.
the smoke, and his next move would be a fatal escalation. On August the 27th, 2017, G-Money dropped his notorious song Industry, another dedicated diss track aimed at YoungBoy and
So ese es otro diss track que es básicamente una tiradera a YoungBoy que se llama Industry.
NBA. But this time, G-Money would get way more personal, mentioning people close to YoungBoy like his late cousin Boozilla and his mother Sharonda, as well as...
Tú ves, él también siguió tirándole, le tiró acerca del primo, le tiró acerca de la mamá, le tiró acerca de la hermana. No, este tigre está pasado.
His sister, this time in a way that made sure that the relationship between these two former friends would never be repaired. But perhaps most interestingly, G-Money also revealed that someone had allegedly put $100,000 on his head with red...
Oye, que alguien puso $100,000 en su cabeza, para la cabeza de G-Money. Ya ustedes saben, mi gente. Ya ustedes saben. Esto está cabrón porque tú estás lidiando con una persona que tiene poder y dinero. Tú tienes que saber lo que tú haces.
Editors later spreading rumors that YoungBoy's notorious manager Big Dump was actually the very person behind this $100,000 bounty.
Oye, que fue el manager de YoungBoy que puso ese bounty.
Famously, the video also prominently featured a Chucky doll, which was apparently a reference to an earlier YoungBoy video called What I Was Taught from September 2016, where the same doll could be seen, and this cursed doll would continue to pop up in
Ok, que ese es el vaina de Chucky, como que NBA YoungBoy utiliza Chucky como referencia.
spooky ways on both sides of this beef for years to come. From here, G-Money kept taking shots at YoungBoy and the NBA crew whenever he could.
So, G-Money cada vez que entraba a live le tiraba mucho a YoungBoy. Vamos a darle, vamos a seguir, mi gente. No, este tigre está pasado. Le tiró a la prima, a la tía, Loco, estos tigres como que no tienen regla.
Uncle whoever, way throwback, you hear me? Made you script and you didn't do nothing about it. So how you think you could, so how you...
Oye, que él lo hizo como que como encuerarse, como que no hizo nada acerca de eso.
You can tell me something.
And unfortunately, in some of these videos, G-Money was also revealing his location, as he can be seen standing outside a building while claiming that YoungBoy suddenly turned into a supposed killer after getting his record deal.
Ok, so, ahí está, él revelaba su location. También decía, hablaba mierda de YoungBoy diciendo, oh, ahora este dice que se cree que él un gánster después de tener par de pesos. Di que poniendo vaina, poniendo dinero, di que pa' mi cabeza.
Oh, you know you ain't living like that, man. You get a deal and you done turn to a killer. When you start doing all that, man, you know you ain't cut like that, man. You know TBG been your muscle, boy. And the same you talking about usually don't live in...
Él está diciendo de que tú sabes que tú no eres así. Bro, yo te voy a decir algo. Es imposible tú querer como que etiquetar a una persona. Tú puedes ver una persona que era pendejo anteriormente, ¿verdad? Pero eso no significa que él va a ser pendejo toda la vida. Hay personas como que dicen, coño, yo tengo un error. ¿Cómo yo me quito eso? O aprendiendo a pelear.
In jail, wherever they at, man, that's the same ran you out of Nouveau in the city, man. Yeah, you remember Will? Yeah, Will's out there. Yeah, you remember you ran out that store, man. You know what's happening with us, man. You hear me? Real. And I'm living out shit, you hear me? Everything you got with a deal like I did.
Ok, es lo que está hablando mierda ahí, como que tú no eres de nada, 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 ok?
That he was standing in front of a local recording studio on the 1900 block of Dallas Drive, where
él dio su location en donde él estaba. Entonces, lo que yo digo es como que tú no puedes querer... Tú no estabas viendo como la gravedad de la situación. Te pusieron $100,000 en tu cabeza, loco. Eso es demasiado cuarto.
TBG were known to record at. The very same studio was also featured prominently in the music video for G-Money and Boulevard Quick's track, Set Trippin'. Unfortunately for G-Money, he massively underestimated two things. He underestimated how easy he was to find in the city, and he hugely underestimated YoungBoy and the NBA crew's willingness to kill to protect their budding empire. In the
Ok, que él básicamente, él estaba andando como que si no le iba a pasar nada.
early morning hours of September the 10th, 2017, G-Money was at that very same studio,
Oh, 2 horas antes de su...
seemingly recording another diss track aimed at YoungBoy, where he
Pero ustedes ven que todo su enfoque era YoungBoy. Le tiraba a YoungBoy, toda su canción era YoungBoy.
called the people's favorite rapper a liar. This would unfortunately end up being his last recording, as around
Esa fue la última vez que el loco grabó. Ya tú sabes. Tú estás cabrón.
1:30 a.m., G-Money would step outside the studio building and take his last breath before he was ambushed and shot dead.
Ok, so él salió del estudio y ahí fue la última vez que lo vimos vivo.
Police are looking into a deadly shooting that claimed the life of a local rapper. Police say someone shot and killed 22-year-old Garrett Burton on Dallas Street around
tan joven.
on 120 last night. Burton performed under the name G-Money.
An alleged picture of the shooter at the scene would later circulate on Reddit. G-Money's good friend Fat Chapo, who was with him at the studio the night of the murder, would later describe the evening's dark events in a later interview.
Ok, ese era el amigo de G-Money y él después estaba como que describiendo qué fue lo que pasó. La foto que ustedes vieron del tigre que estaba afuera, ese es el tirador alegadamente.
Was the first out the door. G walked out that door by himself. I told him before he walked out the door, like, and when I went to go get the slippers, he walked out the door on his own. And they start shooting.
So, mi gente, que él salió, el amigo de él salió del estudio y ahí fue como que comenzó el tiroteo.
When they start shooting, I really didn't know what was going on because I heard a boom, but
Él no sabía qué era lo que estaba pasando y parece como que lo esperaron, como que sabían su location.
when I first, as soon as the shooting stopped, I ran out the door. Nobody was still, I still never saw nobody. It was more.
Lo que yo digo es, la gente que ponen los bounty tienen que tener como que contacto con el verdadero killer, porque como tú sabes que ese es alguien como que te va a ayudar o un agente del FBI o un policía, vamos a decir, ¿entiendes? Y como el que te tiró el bounty, está bien, le dieron para abajo, pero ¿cómo saben quién fue de verdad que le dio para abajo? Preguntas.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It f***ed me up instantly.
But just as chilling as the murder itself were the haunting details that came out afterwards. The day after G Money was killed, someone would go to the studio to document the murder scene, where they ended up capturing footage where bloody...
So, mi gente, un día después de lo que pasó, alguien fue como que afuera del estudio a grabar como que la sangre, las cosas.
Pillows could be seen laying on the ground. A picture of this pillow would also be posted on social media, where it would eventually go down in infamy as one of the most terrifying pieces of folklore about the Baton Rouge streets.
Eso es como que dicen como que pillow, so pillow es una almohada, como una almohada llena de sangre, no sé.
This haunting image would start a wild rumor that G Money's killers had actually thrown a pillow and told him to go to sleep after shooting him dead.
So el que le dio para abajo le tiró una almohada de que se vaya a dormir. Después que le dio para abajo. Damn. Le dijo ponte cómodo. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's unclear exactly who started this dark rumor, but it had a powerful effect on the Baton Rouge streets. The word of the bloody pillow would spread all around Louisiana. YoungBoy and the NBA crew would become notorious not just as
Es una almohada llena de sangre, by the way.
shooters, but like action movie mobsters who left props at the scene of murders to send others a message. While the truth behind these pillows turned out to be nothing as cold and calculated as people on Reddit might have you believe, even this make-believe story would survive in infamy for years, and it made the NBA gang out to be like boogeymen in Baton Rouge. But
bueno, mi gente, eso es como una forma de implantar respeto, porque esa es la manera, se escucha feo, obviamente, pero tú estás jugando con la comida, no nada más de una persona, de mucha gente. Y más si NBA YoungBoy firmó un contrato multimillonario.
the truth is, the pillows had most likely been used by medics who came to the scene to help G Money after the shooting, but it seems that YoungBoy and his team would take full advantage of this online folklore, and YoungBoy would later rap several lyrics where he referenced pillows in relation to murders.
So, NBA YoungBoy utilizó eso ahora como marketing, básicamente la almohada que encontraron llena de sangre.
In the 2020 song Step On, where he rapped that he would lay his ops' beds and throw them a pillow, and in the
Que tú sabes, como que le va a dar para abajo y le va a tirar una almohada.
The 2023 song Let's Do It, where he described his gang creeping up and laying their ops' head on a pillow when they kill them. In the music video for this song, YoungBoy even gets down and lays his head onto an actual
Eso es un video musical que él hizo, como que burlándose básicamente de la muerte de él.
pillow. The bloody pillow was a terrifying symbol of how far NBA members would take it if you got in their way. And as time went on, from this first murder, YoungBoy would continue to reference G Money, leaving cryptic warnings for anyone else who might gamble with their lives playing with the NBA. A new song titled Poor One would release about a month after G Money's murder and appeared to be explicitly dedicated to him, with YoungBoy starting his first verse, recalling a time when their bond felt more like a brotherhood before G Money shattered YoungBoy's trust by sleeping with his sister and bragging.
Ahí él está diciendo, él básicamente tiró otra canción, parece que él invadió un poquito la culpa, diciendo de que como NBA YoungBoy lo veía a él antes de que él se metiera con su hermana, antes de faltarle el respeto, antes de traicionarlo, básicamente diciendo como acerca de la bonita relación que tenían. En mi opinión, mi gente, yo creo que está mal de que le den para abajo a quien sea, ¿me entiendes? Porque cada persona... Yo no creo que nosotros somos malos, yo creo que nosotros tenemos capítulos. ¿Qué me refiero? Yo te puedo jurar que tú tienes una persona que tú le hayas bregado mal. O como que tú eras inmaduro, inmadura. Y no creo como que merece la muerte. O sea, a menos de que si... Tiene que ser como algo muy atroz para una persona merecer la muerte.
About it online. This was the first time one of NBA's rivals suffered deadly consequences in the streets after playing with YoungBoy, and he was not shy about reminiscing and talking openly about the person who had lost their life. Yet despite this being an open secret in the Baton Rouge streets, the authorities to this very day have struggled to truly get to the bottom of this case. It would take close to 2 years before they finally named any suspects in G Money's murder, but
Ok, después de 2 años fue como que estaban tratando como de encontrar los sospechosos.
finally, in June 2019, DeAndre Fields, better known on the streets as Lil Pap, or NBA Pap, will be charged
So, ese es uno de NBA YoungBoy y en 2019.
with second-degree murder in connection to G Money's death.
So, en conexión a lo que le pasó a G Money, parece que lo encontraron a él fue.
Ray Fields, Baton Rouge police say they arrested him years after the shooting death of a local rapper, Garrett Burton. Back in 2017, Burton went by the name of G Money.
In his early music, YoungBoy had painted a picture of Pap as being one of his main shooters, and now here he was.
So, NBA YoungBoy decía como que Pap era uno de los tiradores de, tú sabes, de él. So, y lo agarraron a Pap. Ya tú sabes.
Accused of shooting YoungBoy's biggest rival dead. Lil Pap initially pled not guilty, and years later he would accept a plea deal on greatly reduced charges of accessory after the fact to murder, received.
So, primero él dijo que él no era culpable y después él dijo, ¿tú sabes qué? Déjame. Ese como que eso te ayuda en parte para que los federales no más trabajo toman los federales en ti, en agarrarte y más años te ponen. Entonces, él después dijo, sí, dame, soy culpable, está bien.
Giving a mere 5-year sentence. But interestingly, Pap would still swear to the judge and people close to him that he was innocent, and this sentiment was shared among
Él sigue diciendo como que él fue inocente, como que Pap era inocente.
G Money's close friends, like TBG rapper Fredo Bang, who would also later claim several times publicly that Pap indeed wasn't G Money's killer.
So, Fredo Bang dice que no fue Pap o el que le dio para abajo.
Did a senator, I was like, you seen it? You seen it? Yeah, I seen it. Oh, he's making arrests. Might be wrong. The man ain't do that.
Do you know the guy that's being charged? Okay.
Ahí le dice como que tú conoces quién es que agarraron.
You said that you didn't think the guy that they're charging with the murder actually did it.
No.
YoungBoy's lyrics on the leaked song, Keeping It True, seem
Él le preguntó como, ¿tú crees como que fue ese, como que en verdad lo hizo? Y él está diciendo que no. Yo creo como que uno no se puede meter en eso. Yo no digo ni que no ni que sí, yo no sé. La policía que haga su trabajo.
to echo this same sentiment, with him rapping how after an op died in the night, his brother kept it solid and didn't tell, even though he wasn't the shooter. Even G Money's own mother.
So, NBA YoungBoy tiró como que una canción diciendo como que respetando a el amigo de él, como que aunque él no fue el tirador, él se quedó callado.
Would post on social media after Pap's guilty plea that she also believed that he wasn't the actual killer of her son, leaving this first murder connected to YoungBoy.
So, la mamá de G Money dijo como que ella no cree como que fue el que le dio para abajo. Creo, eso fue lo que dice.
She also believed shooter. Even G Money's own mother would post on social
Sí.
media after Pap's guilty to YoungBoy and his squad of killers, still shrouded in mystery, not only robbing G Money's family of justice, but also meaning that whichever NBA soldier who did kill G Money might still be walking the streets and stages behind YoungBoy to this day, being.
So, todavía no se sabe quién fue que le dio en verdad para abajo. Ellos dicen como que la policía cogió a la persona equivocada, pero nada más creo que fue que le dieron 5 años nada más.
Ready to kill again. There's of course been various rumors as to exactly what went down that night and who was responsible. G Money's.
Y ustedes dicen, ¿por qué le dieron 5 años? Puede ser por la evidencia o la poca evidencia que tenían en ese momento de él. So, es dependiendo a tu evidencia, a la evidencia que tiene la policía de ti.
Mother would make a post on Instagram showing a picture of 3 prominent NBA members, BBG Fredo, Ben 10, and Baby Joe.
So, la mamá después sacó una foto de 3 gente que están con YoungBoy, como que 3 posibles culpables, y la posteó a su Instagram,
saying these were the 3 people that the police said killed her son. Other rumors would circulate, particularly on Reddit, where many have claimed that Pap indeed was not responsible, but was only connected to the case due to being caught with the gun that was used.
So, él estaba conectado al caso porque Pap tenía como que una pistola que fue usada para eso. ¿Entiendes? Por eso fue que le dieron 5 años nada más.
In the hit, while some have denied this. Some spread false
Alguna gente están diciendo que no fue así.
rumors that YoungBoy might have killed G Money personally, but he apparently had the perfect alibi, playing a show in New York City at the Gramercy
So, NBA YoungBoy tenía un alibi. Un alibi es diciendo como que algo que certifica que tú no estabas allí. Entonces, NBA YoungBoy tenía un show en Gramercy, New York. So, NBA YoungBoy estaba lejísimo. Estaba en New York.
Theatre that very night. Other NBA members would be caught on live with Quando Rondo in 2018, including OG3, Ben 10, and off-screen, Baba Osama, who is heard saying that they're smoking on G-Money before a frustrated OG3 ends the live abruptly.
So, ahí, básicamente, miembros de NBA YoungBoy suben un live diciendo de que, oh, nosotros estamos fumando a fulano, y parece que se quilla uno de ellos y cierra el live. Mira.
One far-fetched
Ve, y una tipa dijo de que, oh, ¿qué pasó?
rumor circulating on Reddit suggested that NBA Herm and Baby Joe were actually the shooters and that it was Ben 10 who threw the pillow and told him to go to sleep. Herm's
Ok, ahí lo que son especulaciones de lo que la gente cree. So, ellos están variando entre quién fue de los miembros de NBA YoungBoy que le dio para abajo.
name has been put forward by some on social media due to very suspect posts made by YoungBoy over the years, as well as the fact that he appeared right next to YoungBoy when he laid his head on the pillow in the music video for Bitch Let's Do It, as well.
Ok, están diciendo como que fue él que le tiró la almohada, porque él parece como que en el video musical aparece al lado de NBA YoungBoy, tirándole la almohada.
As well as being on the original live that teased the song, with people commenting how crazy it was to rap these lyrics, stood right next to the killer. Some believe that YoungBoy actually confirmed that Herm was responsible on social media during a feud with the rapper No Cap, where No.
So, básicamente dicen como que NBA YoungBoy, algunos dicen que él confesó que fue el amigo de él o ese miembro en una pelea que tuvo con No Cap, creo que
No Cap had apparently claimed that everyone in Baton Rouge was trying to claim the G-Money murder, with YoungBoy responding that you must not know about the Black Sheep, referring to Herm's nickname. While
So, están diciendo como que mucha gente estaba tratando como de decir, fui yo que le di para abajo, y NBA YoungBoy, en verdad tú no sabes con quién es que tú estás jugando, y etiquetó al amigo de él, como que tú no conoces a este pana. ¿Me entiendes? Como diciendo o no diciendo que fue él. Porque necesita su crédito de calle, básicamente.
others adamantly believe that actually it was Ben 10 who was truly responsible for the hit, which makes the fact
Y otras personas creen como que fue Ben 10, que fue otra persona.
that he was caught liking the IG posts of the mother of G-Money's child all the more chilling. But even as
¿Y esa es la mamá de G-Money? Loco, la mamá de G-Money es jovencita. Parece como de 20 y pico. Entonces, hay una foto como de G-Money que Marvin le dio like, pero por un like.
the fact that he was caught liking the IG posts of the mother of G-Money's child, all the more chilling. But even as the mystery continues, so does the disrespect, as G-Money's grave has been vandalized numerous times, and G-Money's mother still has no justice, as she
So, todavía no hay justicia y le han roto la tumba. La han vandalizado varias veces.
heartbreakingly has posted him on her Instagram page every day for years.
Oh, no, so esa es otra G-Money's child. So, parece que esa es la hija de G-Money. Vamos a ver, mi gente.
Believe that actually it was Ben 10 who was truly responsible for the hit, which makes the fact that he was caught liking the IG posts of the mother of G-Money's child all the
Of the mother of G-Money's child. Ok, so ese... Oh, ok, so la baby mama de G-Money. G-Money parece que tenía un hijo y esa es la baby mother. Ya, ahora entendí. So esa era la mujer de G-Money.
more chilled numerous times, and G-Money's mother still has no justice, as she heartbreakingly
Esa parece la mamá de G-Money, ok.
has posted him on her Instagram page every day for years. But sadly, she would only be
Y todos los días ella publica como que a los sospechosos y eso. No hay una que va a trabajar más fuerte que tu mamá, loco.
the first of over a dozen mothers who would mourn the loss of their children. And the sad truth is that while G-Money had been a direct threat to the budding Never Broke Again empire, some of those who lost their lives appear to have simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Y están diciendo como que la segunda persona que perdió la vida era porque estaba en el lugar equivocado en el momento equivocado. Neisha Barnes.
The next body is one of the most debated when it comes to the alleged murders that YoungBoy has been connected to. On October the 26th, 2017, 19-year-old Ernisha Barnes was sitting in a parked car
19 años, que ese es uno como de los más debatidos. Vamos a ver.
outside of a deli when she became caught in an altercation that would escalate into gunfire. Shots were fired from another vehicle, striking her multiple times, and she would later die from her injuries at the hospital.
So, básicamente, vino otro vehículo, ella estaba como que en el medio de la situación y recibió varios balazos accidentalmente.
We also have now learned the identity and the name of that 19-year-old woman. Police tell us that it was about 10:15 last night when an unknown suspect in a red Chevy Trailblazer fired several shots into a car with 19-year-old Arnisha Barnes sitting in the passenger seat. It happened near Gus Young and 48th Street.
So Arnisha estaba en el mismo carro, era que ella estaba como que, tú sabes, sentada en el passenger seat y a esa gente no le importó y le vaciaron a los que estaban ahí al carro, le dispararon al carro, mi gente.
Told that Barnes was actually taken to a local hospital where she later died.
YoungBoy's fans would later draw connections between several of his lyrics and Arnisha Barnes' death, most notably a leaked track titled Money Man, which featured YoungBoy describing a shooting where someone targeted a man named Hammer, but instead ended up striking his girlfriend.
So ahí están diciendo como que NBA YoungBoy sacaba alguna canción y ahí dice como que, estaba tratando de tirarle a Hammer, parece que Hammer era el novio y le dio a la novia de Hammer sin querer. Wow.
This was in retaliation for someone called Monkey shooting up YoungBoy's grandmother's home. According to Reddit rumors,
porque según lo que dice YoungBoy, había una persona que se llama Monkey, no sé si era una persona o se refiere a él de manera despectiva, que le entró a tiro como que a la casa de la abuela.
These lyrics reference YoungBoy's beef with a gang known as TMH, or Too Many Hitters, and particularly...
Eso es básicamente un problema que tuvo con una ganga que se llama TMH, que se llama Too Many Hitters, como demasiados tiradores.
Two of their main members, named Hammer and Monkey, the latter being better known as the rapper TMH 32 Shots, who's also been affiliated
Esos son los miembros.
with YoungBoy's main rivals, the TBG crew. Arnisha, or simply Nisha as she was known, was allegedly Hammer's girlfriend, who had then supposedly gotten shot by YoungBoy or someone close to him as a revenge for Monkey first shooting up YoungBoy's grandmother's house.
Ok, so, básicamente está resumiendo qué fue lo que pasó, pero esa era la novia de Hammer. Ese es Hammer, mi gente.
With Arnisha actually getting the nickname Hammer Girl on Reddit, where many posts have been made demanding justice for her. However, Monkey...
So, hay mucha gente como que estaba posteando, como que buscando justicia. Mi gente, por eso es que, a sinceridad, pónganse en la acera. Si ustedes ven unas personas como que tienen problemas, una persona querida, amigo y cosas, usted le dice, mira, yo te quiero pila, bro, y todo, pero... hasta que tú no resuelvas eso, no estés conmigo ahora mismo, a sinceridad. Porque si tú estás teniendo una persona que la están buscando al lado tuyo, es un problema grande, mi gente. No es que tú lo ames, no es lo que tú no quieras. Yo tengo pana que yo le deposito de vez en cuando su vaina para la cárcel, tú sabes, en bacanería, pero... tú te puedes meter en un lío.
He would deny having ever shot YoungBoy's grandmother's house years later in his song FAN. In another leaked song, YoungBoy would even seemingly mention Arnisha by name, using her nickname Nisha, while rapping how she had a baby but got killed in front of a corner store. While in yet another...
Están diciendo como que Nisha tuvo un bebé, o tenía un bebé, parece.
The leaked song, he seemingly implied trying to kill his enemy, but ending up killing his girlfriend before calling himself the Murder Man. YoungBoy can...
So, YoungBoy parece como que se quita su culpa en las canciones o se desahoga en sus canciones porque él está diciendo básicamente todo.
Continued to reference that same theme of
diciendo como que terminé dándole para abajo a la novia de este pana, tú sabes, y hasta mencionó el nombre de ella, Nisha.
Accidentally shooting someone's girl for years to come. He would rap chilling lyrics on the 2023 song I Heard that someone got swerved on with their girl, she got hit, and he heard her take her last breaths. But despite fan theories that YoungBoy, or at least someone close to him, was responsible for this tragic murder, in actuality, already in October 2017, 2 people had been arrested in relation to the incident. 27-year-old Donnie Spencer, who was charged with first-degree murder for allegedly killing Arnisha in a drive...
Okay, so Donnie fue el que lo metieron preso. Bueno, Anisha era una civil, so la policía, tú sabes, hace su trabajo.
By shooting, and 30-year-old Ashley Taylor, who was charged...
Y Ashley también. No sé de dónde viene Ashley Taylor.
With attempted second-degree murder and illegal use of a weapon for apparently shooting at another woman in the same spot just minutes before the fatal shooting that killed Arnisha.
Oh, que ella también le tiró a otra mujer como que hace unos minutos antes. So, le dieron un 2-por-1 ahí.
Scotty Hunter tonight with the key thing that helped police make a very quick arrest.
The man accused of carrying out this year's record-breaking murder in Baton Rouge, 27-year-old Donnie Spencer, is behind bars tonight. As he was loaded off to prison, he had nothing to say except one thing.
Innocent.
Spencer's charged...
Ahí él está diciendo que él es inocente.
With first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder after allegedly gunning down 19-year-old mother Ernisha Barnes last Thursday in a drive-by shooting on Gus Young at 48. His information put out on Friday. Roughly 72 hours later, he was picked up today by the
Ellos lo que están dando un resumen de lo que pasó.
U.S. Marshals Task Force.
Although Spencer had first claimed to be innocent, he would eventually plead guilty to manslaughter in 2019, and he was
So, él primero dijo que él era inocente, pero después se declaró culpable.
sentenced to 22 years in prison. But
El diablo, le dieron 22 años en prisión.
even this wouldn't convince some fans who would still keep claiming that Spencer had simply taken the charge for YoungBoy and believing his earlier claims of innocence as validating this theory. While this
Que muchos fans están diciendo como que él solamente cogió como la culpa por YoungBoy.
more far-fetched and far-removed murder seems highly unlikely to be truly connected to YoungBoy directly, the next murder would echo the hit on G Money, as another prominent TBG member with rumored bodies of his own against NBA would unfortunately go out the very same way.
Ok, vamos con el siguiente, número 3. Blood Quick Ashton Wells.
One person that played an instrumental role in NBA YoungBoy's early career was Big Dump, aka Desmond Hardnett. Big Dump had reportedly worked for YoungBoy as an agent or manager, and simply
Ok, so ese era el manager de NBA YoungBoy.
working for YoungBoy had undoubtedly made Big Dump a target in Baton Rouge, but later lyrics from YoungBoy himself would reveal that there might have also been other reasons. For example,
So, él ahí está diciendo el manager como que trabajar para NBA YoungBoy o lo hizo como que odiado por algunas personas.
on the 2022 track Doctor, YoungBoy threatens to shoot up a car, just like Dump would do, something that he
So, pero ahí él dice NBA YoungBoy como que en algunas canciones como que Dump no era un santo tampoco, Dump era de la calle. Porque él se refiere a él como que, oh, le voy a tirar este carro así mismo como Dump lo haría.
reiterates on the 2025 track 86 Prayers. These lyrics seem to imply that Dump wasn't just a businessman, but also somebody that had a reputation in the streets and had personally participated in shootings, making him a target on multiple fronts.
Ok, so Dump ha participado en tiroteo, era una persona como que era con una reputación, tenía una reputación en la calle.
Combine that with the rumors that he was the one who had put the bounty on G Money's head, and it's clear that TBG members would have wanted to take his life too.
Y ese, si recordamos bien, ese fue el que le puso el bounty a TBG.
May the 4th, 2018, at around 6 p.m., Baton Rouge police would respond to a drive-by style shooting on the 2200 block of Nairn Drive. According to news reports, Big Dump had been chatting with family and friends in his old neighborhood when someone pulled up in a vehicle and fired several shots, killing Dump and injuring the woman standing near him.
Wow, mi gente. So, Dump parece que estaba afuera de su casa, y vino un carro y le entraron a tiro a Dump. Y también le dieron a una persona, a una mujer que estaba cerca de él, pero la hirieron nada más. Gracias a Dios no perdió la vida.
5 or 6 witnesses watched on in shock.
Baton Rouge police say 29-year-old Desmond Hardnett died last night from his injuries. Police say Hardnett and a 32-year-old woman were both shot during a drive-by shooting yesterday afternoon. That happened near the corner of Nairn and Baywell. We're told the woman's injuries are not expected to be life-threatening.
Unfortunately,
resumiendo básicamente lo que pasó.
like many of the murders in Louisiana, Dump's murder was never officially solved, although YoungBoy's main rivals TBG would heavily imply being behind the hit. Just 2 months
So, están diciendo como que fueron los rivales de NBA YoungBoy y que la muerte del manager nunca se resolvió.
months after Big Dump's murder, 2 of TBG's biggest remaining rap stars, Fredo Bang and Boulevard Quick, would release a song called Body Bag, where Fredo opens
So, ahí ellos tiraron una canción llamada Body Bag. So, básicamente como que pon el cuerpo en una funda.
up by rapping how they pull up on an op and dump the whole clip, before interestingly mentioning
Ahí diciendo como ellos como que vieron al vaina, al enemigo, y le vaciaron el clip.
putting someone's friend in a grave because they had dropped some knots, which could indeed refer to the rumor that G Money had a $100,000 bounty on his head put up by Big Dump before the murder went down. And they would go on to brag how they had caught someone right outside the house, the exact circumstances of Dump's murder. Boulevard
Básicamente como una venganza de G Money a él.
Quick would again go after YoungBoy in his camp a month later on his song called And One, opening up the track by telling his ops to keep his friend's name out their mouth, likely meaning G Money, and telling them to go and dig their partner up, likely referring to Dump, while later
So, ahí él está diciendo como que -1. Blood está diciendo como que dejen de estar hablando del amigo de él, G Money, y que vayan a recoger a su manager.
rapping that he heard people are looking for him because someone lost his soul before throwing a dump ad-lib there for good measure, just to make it extra clear exactly who he was talking about. But
So, ahí él está diciendo como que, oh, como que lo están buscando porque escucharon que alguien perdió su vida y ahí de ad-libs él le puso dump.
Quick would also hilariously give himself an alibi, rapping how he went to the movies and then went to see a girl while Dump's murder was taking place. And in both music
Como que él fue donde una tipa y fue a ver una película, so él tenía un alibi.
videos, once again, a Chucky doll could also be seen, which at this point had become a way for TBG rappers to cryptically troll YoungBoy ever since that G-Money industry music video. And just like
So, ese en el video oficial sacaron un Chucky, como que esa es la manera como de burlarse de NBA YoungBoy, como que ellos enseñan como un Chucky.
G-Money, Boulevard Quick would also boast in several songs how he had heard around town that killers were looking for him, but he wasn't scared and still sliding, even ending.
So, ahí él está diciendo como que él escuchó que lo están buscando, pero él no le importa, como que él le va a dar para abajo a quien sea.
In his August 2018 music video for the song Never Lacking by seemingly daring YoungBoy and his crew to try and catch him.
Ahí hay una canción que se llama Never Lacking, como que nunca descuidado, donde él le dice a la gente de NBA YoungBoy como vengan, ¿qué es lo que? Vengan, ustedes no digan que son duros, ustedes no digan que la rompen. Yo no haría eso, yo no.
That shot that nut in your mama. Pull up. Come out here. You know, TBG Gorilla Gang. Long live G Money. I'ma talk my shit.
Ya tú sabes. Es el problema.
I don't hide behind money. Cause I ain't got that much. So I'm in the field. You can't be money.
Él está diciendo como que yo no tengo tanto cuarto, pero porque yo no tengo cuarto como para invertir en tú sabes, en killers, pero yo estoy aquí en el field, como que yo estoy en la guerra, así que vengan.
Must be counterfeit. You drop the bag while I'm still breathing. I got breath in my body. Fake it, boy. Pull up.
But the last straw was when YoungBoy's mother, Sharonda, would participate in this beef personally, causing...
Y mi gente, la mamá de YoungBoy era una gantel también. Ya tú sabes. Y hay veces como que ella opina. So, ella está opinando ahora aquí. Esa es la mamá de YoungBoy.
Boulevard Quick to respond with a vulgar and unfiltered rant.
Fredo Bang and Quick wants to get YoungBoy.
Dice que ahí le están diciendo como que Fredo Bang and Quick quieren como que agarrar a YoungBoy.
Fredo Bang and Boulevard Slow.
Ella se está curando con ellos, como que mierda para esa gente.
You look like a man, though.
Y ahí él se cura con la mamá, dice que parece un hombre, le está diciendo. Tú estás jugando con fuego.
You look like a punk.
Oye.
Talking about me, I ain't fuck.
Que parece un estúpido, de que hablando de que mierda para mí.
That speaks on everything. Boy, that mama.
Oye, que él se lo mete.
Play with me first. That.
This would cause YoungBoy him.
Que mierda para él. Ya. ¡Cállate la boca, bro! ¡Diablo!
Himself to respond to. YB would warn Quick that this internet beef would end with him having the last laugh, saying that his ops are going to either die, go broke, or go to jail.
Él está diciendo como que él va a ser el último que se va a reír al final. Que ellos o van para la cárcel o... Ya tú sabes.
That's life alone. I hope y'all stupid mother know that. It's either you gonna die, you either gonna be a bum,
o tú nunca vas a tener cuarto,
or you gonna be successful,
o tú lo vas a lograr,
or you gonna go to jail,
o tú vas a la cárcel.
Then, on November the 26th, 2018, about 6 months after the murder of Big Dump, the Baton Rouge police would respond to Lakeside Villa Apartments just after 12:30 a.m. There, they would find 25-year-old Ashton Wells, aka Boulevard Quick, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and he would be pronounced dead at the scene soon after.
Le dieron para abajo ya. Le dieron para abajo, mi gente. Esto está cabrón. Esto, una novela no le llega a la vida real, manito.
Although the news reports would acknowledge that Boulevard Quick was already the second TBG rapper killed in recent years, the authorities had no suspect or motive. Interestingly,
no tienen sospechoso, no tienen motivo, según la policía. Pero es que son cosas de ganga, por eso es que ellos no se meten así. Porque ellos ven como que, oh, este no fue un agente persona. Digo, un agente persona. este no fue un civil. Este no fue como un civil bueno para la sociedad.
Some people who followed a subreddit about Baton Rouge culture, not necessarily its gang culture, but the city at large, would even be aware of Boulevard Quick's disrespectful attitude and murderous tendencies, showing even that everyday people living in the city would too be celebrating his death. But Boulevard Quick's death was followed
Que hay mucha gente como que estaban celebrando la muerte de él.
by numerous occasions of YoungBoy and his NBA 4K Trey affiliates dissing him and seemingly implying that they had been directly responsible for the murder. The day after Quick died,
So, ellos comienzan a decir que NBA YoungBoy comienza a burlarse, como que a decir como que fueron ellos, que fueron los responsables, tú sabes, a reírse de todo eso.
YoungBoy would appear on an IG Live while being in noticeably good spirits. He would rap lyrics from his upcoming track, My Mama Say, an interesting name for a song, given that his mother had just been exchanging words with Quick.
Y ahí él tira una canción que se llama Mi Mamá Dice. Ya tú sabes.
Rapping that people keep talking about touching him, but they're the ones who keep ending up dead. The full song would drop the following.
Que la gente sigue hablando como de tocarlo, pero que al final son ellos los que terminan muertos. Manito, no.
Following month on YoungBoy's new project titled Realer, which included numerous lyrics that seem to imply that YoungBoy has people killed and is planning to use his newfound rap game riches to pay his shooters to keep killing people for him. He would rap specifically how he smokes up with his hitmen while plotting the next murder, and that they tell him that all behind YoungBoy they will kill people and that he will guarantee their check if they wet their targets. He would
Ahí él está diciendo como que voy a seguir invirtiendo en la calle, poniéndole a los killers, tú sabes, a que le den para abajo a gente, para que dejen el relajito conmigo. Manito, yo le tengo miedo. Le tengo miedo.
rap about the killers around him looking up to him and saying that he has bodies and that he hopes they don't catch up with him. In later songs, there would also be much more obvious references towards Boulevard Quick specifically, like the song Impact, where YoungBoy rapped how someone dissed his mother, so he ended up killing them. And
ahí él estaba diciendo en otra canción como que, alguien habló mal de mi mamá, so yo terminé dándole para abajo. Ya tú sabes.
Famously on the song 1.5, where he raps that his mother had told him to leave Quick dead for speaking on her. Also, other NBA members would participate in the dissing, like NBA Big B, who in several songs dissed someone fat who died, clearly referencing Quick, even including a cover art of himself.
Le tiraron una foto, ese otro que era otro miembro de la ganga de NBA YoungBoy. Bueno, el label, no me maten. Y lo agarraron y como que me estoy fumando y lo pusieron en Photoshop ahí. Tú sabes, relajando.
Literally smoking on Quick, while also rapping in the song that if there's money on someone's head, he promises to get the job done, strongly implying that he had something to do with Quick's death.
Ahí él está diciendo como que si hay alguien que tiene cuarto, él promete como que hacer trabajo heavy. Y Big B es el que está diciendo todo eso.
Interestingly, this murder being November the 26th, 2018, about a week after fellow blood rapper 6ix9ine from New York would end up...
Dele like, mi gente, y suscríbanse. ¿Y qué es lo que está haciendo? ¿Y por qué me pusieron a 6ix9ine en esto? Eso fue como la vez que agarraron a 6ix9ine.
Getting indicted by federal prosecutors for his role as a shot caller in the 9 Trey Bloods. Funnily enough, many people on Reddit at the time would speculate that the feds would likely soon be looking into NBA YoungBoy too.
Que los federales van a agarrar NBA YoungBoy también, okay, ya.
And speculating that there were 2 known murders and perhaps more unknown ones at this point in time. But despite the rumors and lyrics that seemed to tie the hit to infamous NBA member Big B, rumors would circulate on Reddit that the real killer was a lesser known affiliate of NBA known as Duty Black, a friend.
Que el que le dio para abajo, como que rumores de que el que le dio para abajo fue Duty Black.
Of YoungBoy's who was also a rapper himself. Some have suggested that the two might have actually carried out the hit together. YouTuber 3J
Y otra gente están diciendo como que fueron los dos que le dieron para abajo.
Knows the truth, would claim to have been told by those in the know that these were the hitters and that Big B was the one who took the shot.
Que Big B fue el que le dio para abajo, según lo que está diciendo el youtuber aquí.
It was allegedly 2 people on the Boulevard Quick hit. Allegedly or whatever, it was Big B and Duty Black. Big B shot or whatever. Boulevard Quick was walking outside, and when he made it to the parking lot, that's when he seen Big B.
So él estaba caminando afuera y cuando entró al parqueo, él vio a Big B y le dio para abajo.
Quick tried to run. Boulevard Quick tried to run back in the house, and they hit him.
Boulevard Quick estaba tratando como de, tú sabes, el gordito, de correr a la casa y le dieron.
Or whatever, they hit him 2 times in the head. Big
Dos
B
veces en la cabeza.
And Duty
2 veces la cabeza, mi gente.
Be black killed Boulevard quick. That's what somebody close to the situation DM me and told me. When Duty Black died, everybody started posting Boulevard quick. When NBA Big B got shot, everybody started posting Boulevard quick.
So, que todo el mundo comenzó a postear como que Boulevard quick.
Boy would post a picture on FaceTime with Doody Black, and it's rumored that this was only a short time before the murder of Quick. Unfortunately, Doody Black, real name Darian Carter, was gunned down in his car in North Foster Drive in Baton Rouge on June the 11th, 2021, and the police
Fue cerca del carro, ajá. Como más o menos lo contó él, que él trató de correr para su casa, pero no pudo.
were unable to identify any suspects, with
Murió de 23 años, mi gente, bien joven.
many believing that TBG member Fredo Bang posting a picture with Boulevard Quick right after the murder of Doody Black was confirmation that he was the one responsible. Rumors have since spread.
So, wow, mano. Están diciendo como que fue Doody Black. It was crazy. It was a pay hit too.
That this was a paid hit as retaliation for Boulevard Quick's murder. YoungBoy would pay tribute on the leaked 2021 song North.
Que le dieron para abajo a Doody. Doody era como que un compañero de NBA YoungBoy. Wow, se fueron rápido. So, básicamente, le dieron para abajo a Boulevard y después le dieron para abajo a Doody por venganza.
Offside legend calling Doody that very thing and saying RIP.
Y Fredo Banks subió una foto con Boulevard. Después como que le dieron para abajo a Doody. Como que de forma como que, oh, ya, descansa en paz. Por eso es que como que la cosa de la ganga, mi gente, nunca acaba.
And he even seemed to express remorse over the retaliation that took Doody's life on the song Letter to the North, where he raps about telling his mother to send $10,000 to Doody's mother. Some on Reddit have suggested
ahí NBA YoungBoy está diciendo como que se siente mal y que como que le va a enviar dinero a la mamá de Doody.
that there was never retaliation for Doody Black's murder because he wasn't a true member of the NBA crew. But while YoungBoy later would use his music to express his pain and regret over the lives lost in the name of protecting the NBA empire,
que nunca hubo como que venganza al nombre de Doody, porque él nunca fue como que parte del coro de NBA YoungBoy.
After these 3 murders, YoungBoy would begin rapping more and more with pride about his triple body count. At this point in time, YoungBoy had already become a well-established and prolific artist in the rap game, who was known for his unmatched work ethic, devoted fan base, and his unique and versatile style, which
ahí está diciendo que ya NBA YoungBoy tenía una base por su talento versátil, sus letras,
ranged from emotional auto-tune ballads, which his fans described as pain songs, as well as incredibly aggressive
que él tenía canciones como de dolor, tenía canciones. Eso es algo de NBA YoungBoy, que él siempre expresa todos sus sentimientos en la música y lo hace sin filtro.
Anthems designed for sliding on your ops, which his fans would describe as murder songs. And it would be this latter
canciones de matanza,
genre of murder music where YoungBoy would begin to talk more about his infamous body counts. Some of the first songs that mentioned specific numbers were seemingly made around 2019, not long after YoungBoy's killers had allegedly caught their 3rd victim, Boulevard Quick. One of these being a song known as All in My Way, which was supposedly recorded sometime in 2019, although it would only be leaked in November 2021. In this
ahí están hablando de canciones alegadamente que él ha hecho, como lo que él dice en las canciones, que le tira a sus enemigos.
Song, YoungBoy would rap that he has 5 bodies under him, but you have to subtract 2, possibly.
Ahí él está diciendo como que él ya le ha dado para abajo 5 gente, pero tú tienes que restar 2. ¿Por qué tenemos que restar 2? ¿Por qué?
Referring to the 2 attempted murders that he got after his cousin Boozilla's death, or the 2 losses that his own side had suffered, Big Dump and Boozilla.
Oh, como de las 2 pérdidas que él ha tenido.
In another song called Murder Man, which was reportedly first played by YoungBoy's ex-girlfriend during an IG Live on November the 18th, 2019, YoungBoy seems to imply that he has 3 bodies, and that someone who talks shit about him on Instagram is going to be the 4th, with this likely
él está diciendo como que él tiene 3 cuerpos, el que hable mierda de él en Instagram va a ser el 4º. Yo no. Callado en los comentarios, coméntame esto. Así que estamos. Siga por ahí, NBA YoungBoy. ¿Usted qué sabe?
Referring to King Von, who had just recently dissed YoungBoy in March of that same year, suggesting that he'd been lying in his music.
King Von en una parte dice como que NBA YoungBoy como que miente en sus canciones. Bueno, vamos a ver qué es lo que es con King Von.
YoungBoy talking about on this song, bro.
¿Qué es lo que King Von está diciendo? ¿Qué es lo que YoungBoy está diciendo en esta canción? Yo me recuerdo ese video que él dice de que YoungBoy talking crazy, como que él está hablando como que, tú sabes, como que ¿qué es lo que él dice? Él vive esta vida tú sabes, preguntándose vaina, pero él nunca estaba mal con él, en verdad, nunca tenía de que muchos problemas con NBA YoungBoy.
You talking crazy on this man.
Oh, yeah?
He ain't even like that.
Que él no es así, está diciendo. Vaina, Kimbo lo hacía curándose.
Nah. Cap.
Para los que no son dominicanos, mi gente, burlándose, como que en forma como que en relajo.
You got cap in your raps.
Que tú tienes mentira en tus canciones.
More about what happened to Von later, but this was only the beginning, and only 2 years after this number had more than doubled, as he would claim on his King Von diss song Dead Trolls. By 2020, YoungBoy
y NBA YoungBoy le tiró a King Von en una canción. Él está diciendo 7 muertes en mi ciudad donde yo soy. So then, bitch, I did that. Dígale a esa perra que fui yo que lo hice.
Was claiming to have racked up 7 bodies. Ironically, the exact same number of bodies that King Von was rumored to have, indicating that in 2020 there was actually a direct rivalry between the two on who had the most murders, with them
que hubo una rivalidad entre los dos, como de quién le ha dado para abajo a gente, pero respetuosamente. Y además, yo ni voy a opinar. Yo andamos así.
actually seeming to be neck and neck in murder counts during this period. But who were these 4 people who YoungBoy had allegedly killed in less than a year in order to go from 3 to 7 bodies and catch up with King Von? Well, YoungBoy and his 4K Trey's growing affiliations with...
Están diciendo de que, cuáles son estas 7 cuerpos, porque teníamos 3, ahora 7, como que ha subido tanto, y ahora estamos teniendo como las afiliaciones porque se está haciendo más grande, y este chamaquín, ande el diablo.
Other gangs in Baton Rouge also brought them several new enemies that would end up supercharging the ongoing war in the city and rise the body count significantly.
Ok, porque habían otras bandas. Estas son las otras bandas, parece. De la afiliación y eso, las otras bandas que son de la ciudad de él.
By the end of 2019, YoungBoy had a rumored 3 bodies under his belt, but he was also killing it in the rap game. October 2019 would see him hitting 2 career milestones that he's still not surpassed. His highest charting hit single, Bandit, with Juice WRLD, and the release...
Sí, la canción de Bandit. Oh, la de Gucci. I feel like a Gucci man in 2006. All this time was on my neck. Loco, esa canción durísima.
So in my opinion, the greatest album in his catalogue and the best album in modern gangster rap, AI YoungBoy 2. If you want to...
Sí, ahí está esa canción, mi gente. Esa canción es durísima.
Know more about the industry success that YoungBoy was having around this time.
No. Y este Photoshop, Gucci chino.
Go and check out the 6-hour video that I previously did on YoungBoy a couple of years ago. But behind the music industry...
Él le hizo un documentario, él le hizo como una biografía a NBA YoungBoy de 6 horas. Diablo.
Success, things were getting very complicated in the streets for YoungBoy and his NBA label/gang. At this point, YoungBoy's street rivalries in his hometown had revolved almost completely around his years-long beef with his former friends in the crew TBG. However, coming into the 2020s, another deadly beef would emerge, which I've covered in depth on my second channel, Trap More Ross, this being the beef between 2 gangs known as the Vultures and the Bleeders.
Ok, so hay un problema entre esas dos gangas también en el problema de la ciudad, como de la ciudad de NBA YoungBoy.
The Vultures come out of the so-called Bankstown hood on the north side, which is known as the Third World, while the Bleeders hail from the Glen Oaks neighborhood, also known as Oaktown, which is located to the east from Bankstown.
Él está diciendo dónde está localizado, básicamente. Tan cerquita, wow.
YoungBoy's deadly street alliance 4K Trey would eventually become entangled in the beef between the Vultures and the Bleeders due to shared alliances and rivalries, as Bleeders became allied with TBG, while Vultures became very close with 4K Trey, with the most popular...
So, básicamente son como que son aliados de diferentes gangas. De las dos diferentes gangas son aliados. So, los Bleeders son aliados de TBG y lo de NBA YoungBoy son aliados con los otros.
Popular Vultures rapper YKWHIFV.
Míralo ahí, Vía. Ese otro de los Vultures.
Even receiving an NBA chain from YoungBoy personally.
Tiene una NBA chain, ya tú sabes.
According to online rumors, the chain of events that sparked these new alliances allegedly begun with a murder that hit YoungBoy on a deeply personal level. The connection in this case leads back to yet another gang based in the Sherwood Forest neighborhood on the east side of Baton Rouge, which is most famously represented by B-Way Youngie, a popular rapper who is YoungBoy's actual little brother, with the 2 of them sharing the same father. While there's...
So, hay un... Vamos a decir, ese era el hermano pequeño de NBA YoungBoy que tenían el mismo padre. Y parece como que él se murió. Vamos a ver.
There's also a third brother known as D Gobbler. B-Way and
Y también hay otro hermano.
These gangs rep several different names, such as Goblin Gang or DHG, aka Dark Hearted Goblins.
Están diciendo como que esa era la ganga que ellos representaban. Míralo ahí. Six That Crew, 600, Dark Hearted Goblins, so los Goblins, básicamente.
They also rep the number 6 and are sometimes called simply the 6 or 600 or 6 to Crew. B-Way's gang had a long-time rivalry with a gang alliance known as 300, which was founded by youths from two different hoods, Mall City on the east side and Gardier, aka G-Lane, on the far south side. On the afternoon of December the
Eso básicamente como de la ganga rival. Esa era la ganga rival. Vamos allá.
2nd, 2019, 17-year-old Javon Brown, aka Jay, an alleged member of the 300 Alliance, had just got out of the school bus on Ottawa Drive when 3 teenagers began harassing him. What began as a...
Wow. So, él salió como de la, vamos a decir, del bus, de la escuela, y comenzó a pelear con una persona porque comenzaron como que harassing him, como que, vamos a decir, como invadir su espacio personal, como que comenzaron a insultarlo, a joderlo. Vamos a ver.
Fist fight quickly escalated into gunfire and with...
So, fue como que una pelea de, tú sabes, como de golpe, como de mano, normal, y escaló. ¡No puedo contigo! ¡Pam! Tú sabes.
In moments, Brown was struck by a bullet and collapsed on the sidewalk.
Approached him, they started a fight with him, and during that fight, one of them pulled out a gun and shot him.
Brown was rushed to the hospital where he died early Tuesday morning.
Almost immediately, detectives began rounding up suspects connected to the attack, and within 48 hours, 3 teens were in custody, including a 16-year-old Kevin Anderson, who had himself gotten shot by accident during the incident, as well as...
Mi gente, después de 2 días de una vez agarraron a varias personas y agarraron a uno de 16 años. Wow.
Who had himself gotten shot by accident during the incident, as well as YoungBoy's brothers B-Way Youngie, real name Jeffrey Tate, and D Gobbler, real name...
So, fueron los hermanos de NBA YoungBoy. Wow.
Named Devon Tate. B-Way faced charges of being a participant in the incident, while his brother was booked for allegedly being the triggerman.
The East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office saying that it was 18-year-old Devon Tate who pulled the trigger. His brother...
So, fue el de 18 años, 18, Devante. Devante fue el que alegadamente disparó.
Jeffrey charged as a principal, both avoiding capture until Wednesday.
As Redditors later pointed
So, ellos dos como que lo van a capturar.
out, the feud between B-Way's DHG crew and the 300 Alliance played a key role in drawing YoungBoy's 4K Trey gang into the war, once the 300 eventually aligned themselves with the Bleeders. And while YoungBoy himself had personally no part to play in this murder, people online considered this murder to have been the very first catalyst that started the war between these two alliances.
Ok, so están diciendo como que esa fue la primera muerte que comenzó todo el problema, ¿ok? Pero estoy un poquito confundido, él me dejó un poco confundido porque la primera muerte fue de este lado, de los jóvenes, si no mal recuerdo, ¿ok? Para lo que están como que un chico en el aire.
At this point included 4K Trey and DHG on one side and the Bleeders and 300 on the other. Meanwhile, according to more online rumors, B-Way's charges were eventually dropped, but his brother D remains in jail on charges stemming from Jay's murder and other...
Ok, so los cargos como que lo tumbaron acerca de ese problema, pero como quiera, D sigue en la cárcel porque tuvo un tiroteo. Vamos a ver.
Incidents that took place while he was out on bond. 300's revenge for this murder would come already a few weeks later when 17-year-old Gervonta Taplin, also known as Tay 6, an alleged member of the DHG gang, was killed in a Christmas Eve home invasion.
Wow, mi gente, so él murió. Ese era otro de NBA YoungBoy, so otro afiliado de NBA YoungBoy y murió. Se llama Tay 6. So básicamente día después le dieron para abajo a uno.
Known as Tay 6, an alleged member of the DHG gang, was killed in a Christmas Eve home invasion.
New at 5, this is our first look at the teenager killed early this morning in a shooting. His family tells us someone came inside Gervonta Taplin's home and shot him.
Tay 6's alleged killer was
Y ese era un teenager, loco, parece un hombre, le dan purina.
arrested a few months later in February, and he would turn out to be 17-year-old Covarius Garner, aka...
El hueso, ese. Pero esos son teenagers. ¿Y qué es lo que le dan a esta gente? Loco, y tiene un ojo como que... Güey, está... ¡Ey! No es por nada, pero el loco tiene un look como duro. El loco tiene un Está duro el look.
Cutter, or Juice, according to the newspapers, who had confessed the murder to the police while also admitting that he was a member of 300. But while the law
Oh, que él era miembro de 300.
had so far been quick to catch both sides of this rivalry, 300 was already about to lose another member, as yet another gang would get involved in the war.
Pero si ustedes se fijan, casi no agarran a la gente de NBA YoungBoy, agarran más a la gente del otro bando. Ese otra víctima, Jaron Bang.
The next victim would be 17-year-old Gyron LaBouffe, a promising young athlete and a rapper who was known by the stage name Gyron Bang. He was apparently active in the streets too, with pictures of him toting firearms and fist-fighting circulating on Reddit. On the evening of
Okay, so hubo muchas fotos y videos de él peleando y tú sabes, con armas.
Saturday, February the 8th, 2020, Gyron had left his home to go and buy a birthday gift for his mother at the Mall of Louisiana.
Wow, le iban a dar un regalo a la mamá. Él fue como que a buscarle un regalo a la mamá.
The largest mall in the state and a popular hangout spot
En un mall.
for the local youths. According to comments on Reddit, he bumped into 3 of his ops in the mall, leading to a fistfight, Gyron getting the better of one of them. This led those
So, él se encontró como que con 2 de sus enemigos en el mall y se entraron a trompar y parece que Gyron era bueno peleando.
youngsters to come back with guns, catching Gyron
Y vinieron para atrás con pistola.
on a street outside the mall, where they opened fire. First responders would find him suffering
Entonces le dieron para abajo. Oh, no puedo contigo. Ok, déjame buscar mi pistola. Y le dieron para abajo afuera del mall.
from multiple gunshot wounds near an apartment complex close to the mall, and they would rush him to hospital, where he would later pass away from his injuries. According to local news, Gyron's friend later told investigators that the two had indeed gotten into an altercation with a group of teenagers inside the mall. Later, as they
Parece que ya le dijeron alguien choteó diciéndole a los investigadores que él tuvo problemas o tuvo una pelea con varias personas.
left and headed towards a nearby trampoline park, they would run into the same group again, and after a brief exchange of words, that's when one of the teens pulled the gun and shot Gyron. But what the news didn't
Solo amigos de Gyron fue que dijeron eso.
mention was that Gyron wasn't just an aspiring rapper, but also an alleged member of the 300 Alliance, who could be seen in his music videos, repping the gang while toting massive guns. Less than a
Eso es lo que pasa, que lo que no dijeron era que Gyron estaba en una ganga.
week later, the local news would report how Gyron's alleged killers were captured, these being 3 teenagers who the police had tracked immediately after the shooting.
Ok, so eran 3 gente. Yo me equivoqué al principio, no eran 2, eran 3. Entonces lo agarraron de una vez, la policía lo agarró, gracias a la ayuda de los amigos de Gyron.
14-year-old Bradley Payne, 15-year-old Iman Street, and 16-year-old Frederick Tate, all
Eso fue lo que agarraron.
facing second-degree murder charges linked to the shooting death of Gyron LaBeouf.
These teens would all allegedly be affiliated with gangs that were 300's rivals. But most interestingly, one of them would turn out to be a youngster named Bradley Payne, who is
Ok, uno de ellos es afiliado a NBA YoungBoy.
now better known as the rapper 38 Young'un. He hails from the very same area where YoungBoy himself grew up, around the 38th Street on the north side, and repping it.
So, ellos son él creció como en la misma calle de NBA YoungBoy, que fue como que la calle 38.
A gang known as the Northside Rangers, or NSR, which according to some Redditors is part of YoungBoy's 4K Trey Alliance. And 38 Young'un himself is seemingly very well connected to people close to YoungBoy, even having made a song together with one of NBA's main members, Ben 10. Following Gyron's death,
Ok, están diciendo como que él era bien conectado a la gente de YoungBoy.
particularly many members of DHG, the gang that was repped by YoungBoy's brothers B-Way and D, would diss Gyron mercilessly on social media due to their own beef with 300.
So, se burlaron de Gyron en las redes sociales, la gente que pertenecían a YoungBoy.
Damn, that nigga wanted to join 6 and yeah. Damn, man. Rest in peace.
Le dicen rest in peace, como que no rest in peace, como de forma de, tú sabes, de burla, porque como que es básicamente como que descanse en miau, que descanse en los fluidos líquidos que nosotros tiramos. Eso es lo que dicen.
Trying to hit the purple, son? You ain't trying to hit the purple, son? Man, you trying to hit the purple, son? Shut up. I bet. Well, we're gonna roll you up in that purple then, son.
Mi gente, yo creo como que esto es una forma como de dividirnos a cada uno de nosotros, porque al final yo no voy con la ganga. Eso es algo como que nos divide como comunidad. Nosotros al final, el pueblo, nosotros podemos llegar a llegar a hacer cosas muy grandes si nos unimos. Pero la ganga es una forma como de dividirnos, ¿me entiendes? Pero es algo increíble, no es algo que uno puede controlar porque ya ahí hay enemistades, hay muchas cosas.
B-Way himself would also seemingly participate in the dissing, like in his April 2021 song Goblin Gang, where he raps how he's never going broke again, adding that ish dead, just like Bang, which appears to be a targeted diss towards Gyron, based on his rap name, Gyron Bang. Also,
so, ahí mi gente le están tirando a Gyron, ese es el hermano de NBA YoungBoy, que le tiró en una canción.
38 Young and himself has seemingly dissed Gyron in his music too, like in a song and music video that's since been deleted, where he...
So, básicamente están diciendo como los miembros del coro de NBA YoungBoy se burlan de Gyron.
Raps how he smokes such strong weed that it makes him see J, B, and C, with J seemingly being a reference to J, aka Javon Brown, while B refers to Gyron Bang. C, on the other hand, refers
So, se están burlando de la gente que le han dado para abajo.
to yet another dead 300 member called Chris, real name Christopher Fields, who was allegedly killed by his own friend. The two other suspects in the murder of Gyron, Iman Street, aka Mond, and Freddie Tate, aka Tay Huncho, would later be convicted in the case, with Tate pleading guilty in 2022 after having the charges reduced, while Street also eventually pled guilty to reduced charges in 2024, still facing up to 30 years in prison. 38.
So, ellos están como que hasta 30 años en prisión, mi gente. Tienen demasiado... Todos fueron culpables. Ya ustedes saben.
Youngen's charges, on the other hand, were seemingly dropped, but he would be back in the news in 2023 when he and others were charged with allegedly committing crimes as part of a gang, known according
Okay, espérense.
facing up to 30 years in prison. 38 Youngen's charges, on the other hand, were seemingly dropped, but he would be back in the news in 2023 when he and others were charged with allegedly committing crimes as part of a gang, known according
So, básicamente, lo de 3800, los cargos fue algunos como que se cayeron, algunos cargos de ellos, de la parte de
according to the local news as Never Broke Again Northside Rangers, this name obviously suggesting that the crew had branched off the original NBA crew around the 38th Street that was led by YoungBoy, with all this showing that, if anything, 38 Youngen's ties to YoungBoy and NBA and his 4K Trey crews had only grown stronger.
Members of a Baton Rouge street gang were formally charged. Bradley Payne, Jermonte Clark, Twain Bridgewater, and 3 juveniles were accused of being part of the NBA Northside Rangers, a grand
So, ellos eran lo que eran de parte de NBA YoungBoy.
jury indicted the 6 teens on charges within the criminal street gang statute in an effort to make the charges stick.
On Reddit, some users have claimed that Gyron's murder ended up escalating the city's gang war significantly, and while it's not clear whether that's true or not,
Que eso escaló como que básicamente la guerra que estaba pasando en la ciudad.
the killing in the city would certainly reach its peak during the early 2020s. But while these younger, YoungBoy-sanctioned NBA crash-outs were stoking these new deadly beefs, the 6th murder that occurred under YoungBoy's watch was much more personal.
Okay, vamos a la sexta.
The 6th body traces back to YoungBoy's early childhood, when his best friend Lil Dave, real name David Cobb, was shot and killed at just age 16 during a so-called Rest in Peace picnic held in honor of another slain youth in 2010. Lil Dave.
Okay, vamos, David Cobb. Wow, mi gente.
Dave's killer was never caught, and according to police, the murder investigation was particularly hindered by the community's unwillingness to cooperate with them. YoungBoy would...
So, básicamente, nunca encontraron a quién fue que le dio para abajo porque el pueblo, la ciudad tenía miedo como de ayudarlos, de ayudar a la policía.
Continue to honor Lil Dave's memory in his music, but he would also rap about his desire for revenge, like in his 2015 track Homicide, where he promised that once they catch the person that killed Lil Dave, he will die, and in the 2016 track R.I.P. Lil Dave, where he promised revenge for what was done to Lil Dave. However, there would
Ahí él está, NBA YoungBoy está diciendo como que desde que agarre quién fue que le dio para abajo a los Dave, como que lo va a matar.
be a drastic shift in the way that YoungBoy rapped about Lil Dave 2 months into 2020. In his unreleased 2020 track, Hold 13, YoungBoy raps that they killed Lil Dave when he was 12, but once he made 20, he knocked the killer's face off. The line made 20...
Él está diciendo que como que cuando él agarró al killer cuando él cumplió sus 20 años.
Could be seen as a reference to either YoungBoy reaching the age of 20 or perhaps racking up a net worth of $20 million by this point, or possibly even paying $20,000 to avenge.
Está diciendo como que eso pudo ser cuando él llegó a tener 20 años o como cuando él llegó como a tener un net worth vamos a decir, de 20 millones, que puede referirse a muchas cosas en esa vaina.
Lil Dave. He would also expand on this in his other songs, like rapping in his 2024 track Missing Everything that he had a flunky pop the person that killed Lil Dave, while in a
que he got a flunky person that killed Lil Dave. So, básicamente está diciendo como que flunky. Vamos a ver qué es lo que
song called Yesterday.
So, él está diciendo que él tuvo un subordinado que le dio para abajo a Lil Dave.
A leaked song called Yesterday, he raps how his life is not anything like it was in the old days because he doesn't need to get revenge for Lil Dave's death anymore.
Como que él ya no necesita tener como venganza por Lil Dave. Él está como que ahí NBA YoungBoy está como madurando un poco por su... Él tiene mucho que perder ahora mismo.
On another leaked song titled Fighting Demons, YoungBoy would rap how he woke up one morning and heard that somebody had caught the boy that killed Lil Dave and described...
Ahí él está diciendo en otra canción como que él se levantó un día y como que agarró a la persona que le dio para abajo a Lil Dave.
Frantically calling Ben 10 for an update on the situation and being disappointed to find out they didn't hit him in the head with more than one bullet. Online rumors would eventually connect these...
Y como que se sintió disappointed que no le dieron más de una vez con un bullet. Ya ustedes saben que no le dispararon más de una vez.
Lyrics to a shooting that took place on March the 1st, 2020. That night at around 7:40 p.m, 28-year-old Lewis Cryer was standing outside on the 6700 block of Cambridge Street when a car rolled past and someone opened fire. Cryer was hit multiple...
Okay, le dieron, eso fue Lewis Cryer, eso fue un drive-by, so una gente en los carros, tú sabes, estaba caminando, Cryer, y le dieron para abajo.
Multiple times and rushed to the hospital where he would later die of his injuries.
Well, police are trying to get to the
Lo llevaron al hospital, pero murió.
bottom of a drive-by shooting in Baton Rouge. Someone shot Lewis Cryer on Cambridge Street Sunday evening. That's just north of Airline Highway.
In the streets of Baton Rouge, Louis Cryer went by the nickname Scooter, and allegedly he belonged to a gang known as the Young Goons, or YGs, who were the previous
So, alegadamente, él era de los Young Goons, de YG.
generation from the Bankstown hood before the Vultures got started. This gang was indeed long rumored to have been responsible for the murder of Lil Dave, with Reddit rumors even pointing to a specific 4K Trey member known as...
Que había rumores de que esa ganga era la que le dio para abajo a Lil Dave.
As NBA Q, aka Lil Q, as being the person who avenged Lil Dave for YoungBoy. He would be...
Que esa fue la persona como que tomó venganza de Lil Dave. Por YoungBoy.
Someone that YoungBoy would shout out several times in his songs for being a shooter, apparently part of a deadly duo with another 4K Trey member called Big E, aka...
So, a él NBA YoungBoy le dio como su payola, como que, oh, ese es mi tirador, tú sabes, en su canción.
Chopper Boy, with one post circulating on Reddit claiming that Q has 3 bodies, while Chopper Boy has just one, and one...
Él está diciendo como que Q tiene tres cuerpos, como que le ha dado para abajo a 3 gente, y Chopper Boy tiene uno.
Infamous 2017 YoungBoy lyric would describe the duo carrying out a hit for him, saying that they run down their ops with a special delivery from YoungBoy. However, officially, the case of Scooter's murder remains unsolved, but all of these lyrics paint a vivid picture of this murder just being another part of YoungBoy.
So, el caso de Scooter, no le encontraron quién fue el killer, quién fue el que le dio para abajo. Ahora vamos con NBA YoungBoy. ¿Qué es lo que dice?
Remains unsolved, but all of these lyrics paint a vivid picture of this murder just being another part of YoungBoy's reputation as the...
Y toda esta letra en sus canciones le dan su reputación a NBA YoungBoy como que él le dice como que él no juega, como que representan su cruda verdad.
Infamous murder man of Baton Rouge, and Reddit commenters are convinced that YoungBoy was directly responsible for calling this hit, with lyrics from the leaked song Hurt Somebody, aka Out My Body, seeing YoungBoy appearing to take credit for avenging Lil Dave and referencing someone called Jordan lining it up. Now,
so, él está diciendo que fue en una canción, está diciendo como que fue Jordan que lo ayudó y que le da la gracia, básicamente dándole un shout out. Y que fue él que fue responsable por darle para abajo a Lil Dave. Él lo dice en una canción.
YoungBoy was seemingly using...
Oh, no. Que él ya agarró al responsable que le dio para abajo a Lil Dave. Excúsame.
His rap riches to settle old scores from the streets of Baton Rouge from 10 years ago. But it would seem that despite the NBA crew reaching the upper echelons of the rap game, this didn't mean their long-running and biggest ops from TBG would be spared.
Ok, ese otro. So, Dutch Jason Nixon. Ese se ve... Soy yo, él se ve como mayor ya.
During 2019 and 2020, the beef between NBA and TBG would reach deadly new heights. On songs, YoungBoy kept throwing shade at his old friends, like in the song Free D-Dog, released in April 2019, where he seems to imply that TBG used to run Baton Rouge, but now they can't claim that anymore. While
Él está diciendo como que TBG antes era los jefes de la ciudad de Baton Rouge, pero ya no pueden decir eso más nunca. Es como en la canción NBA.
Proudly bragging how he had been getting so many people killed that he had made the whole city of Baton Rouge mad at him for putting so many big bags on people's heads.
Que él le ha dado para abajo a tanta gente, como que tú sabes, poniendo bounty en gente que ya tiene la ciudad, como a los ciudadanos molestos porque el hombre tiene demasiado cuarto, entonces tiene mucho poder. ¿Tú me entiendes? De tanto caso que ha pasado, como que él ha ocasionado.
Surprisingly, TBG wasn't about to let this kind of disrespect go unpunished. The following month in May, YoungBoy was booked to perform at Rolling Loud, the biggest rap festival series in the country, where his name...
So, el próximo mes, la ganga de TBG se molestó y el próximo mes NBA YoungBoy tenía un concierto en Rolling Loud. Ese es uno de los conciertos más populares que hay.
Would be found on the fourth row of Sunday's performers. It's hard to imagine YoungBoy being so low on the billing now in 2025 when he's selling out stadiums back to back, but at this time in his career, he was still just a young and hungry rising star. And the festival taking place that year in Miami was stacked with other rap stars, many of these being the rap
había muchos artistas y NBA YoungBoy era uno de ellos.
Game's biggest artists at the time descending on Florida to perform, including the likes of Lil Durk, Lil Wayne, 21 Savage, Kodak Black, and Chief Keef. Funnily enough, one of the other artists who was there was Young Thug, the very same person who, according to some rumors, had actually blessed YoungBoy's 4K Trey gang into the official Money Murder Blood Gang umbrella. Early Friday.
Okay, so fue básicamente Young Thug que le dio como la afiliación a los Bloods.
Morning, as YoungBoy was allegedly out partying with Young Thug, a shooting would take place on an interstate highway. TMZ would break the story, reporting how the target of the shooting had been Young Thug, but other outlets like the Miami...
ahí estaban diciendo como que le ocasionó un tiroteo donde ellos se estaban yendo y estaban diciendo como que al que querían darle para abajo, sacar del servidor, era Young Thug. Pero otras personas estaban diciendo como que era NBA YoungBoy.
Herald would later report how YoungBoy had also been present. A couple months later, in June 2019, one of TBG's main rappers and alleged main shooters, Lit Yoshi, would release a song titled Cutter, where he would drop some very interesting bars about him and another TBG rapper, Seven Hardaway, catching their ops on an interstate and adding how Seven was driving while Yoshi...
Ahí él lo está poniendo en una canción, la ganga rival, como él en sí, uno de los miembros de la ganga rival, diciendo como él agarró a uno en el highway.
She was shooting, with fans on Reddit
y comenzó a tirar.
Later connecting these lyrics to that Friday morning shootout. But unfortunately for YoungBoy, his troubles in Miami were just getting started. And only a few days later, on Sunday the 12th of May, when he was supposed to be taking the stage at Rolling Loud, he was targeted by shooters in broad daylight at one of the most high-profile hotels in the whole of Florida, the Trump International Hotel and Beach.
So NBA YoungBoy iba a tomar un hotel, tú sabes, NBA YoungBoy estaba saliendo de su hotel y lo agarraron unos tiradores.
Resort in Sunny Isles. As online sleuths would later put together, YoungBoy had made a crucial mistake, leaving his geolocation on whilst tweeting, giving up his location to...
So, en un tweet, él puso su location, él puso donde él estaba localizado.
His ops, and as he and his entourage were about to make their way to the festival, they would be ambushed outside the hotel by assailants who pulled up in a black Cadillac Escalade. As shots were fired from the Escalade in the direction of YoungBoy's entourage, it would trigger an immediate return of fire from members of his own NBA team who were carrying their own weapons. From here,
so el equipo de NBA YoungBoy comenzó a tirarle para atrás. Ellos vinieron en un Hellcat negro a tirarle a la gente de NBA YoungBoy.
Here, complete chaos ensued as gunslingers from both parties engaged in a Wild West-style shootout in the middle of a busy tourist hotspot. By some miracle, YoungBoy would again escape unscathed, while his girlfriend at the time would get hit on the shoulder and three...
So no le pasó nada a NBA YoungBoy, pero a su mujer en ese momento le dieron en el hombro.
Bystanders would also be grazed, including a 5-year-old child, but most...
Pero fue Grace, como que le rozaron la bala.
Tragically, however, one of the stray bullets would end up hitting a bystander named Mohammed Girardi, who would pass away from his injuries.
Un civil, le dieron un civil. Ya tú sabes, a esa gente la van a agarrar sí o sí.
After the shootout was over, and before the police and the news media would take over the crime scene, YoungBoy would somehow manage to flee the scene and still make it to his performance at Rolling Loud before he was...
So, él como quiera salió y fue a su concierto.
Ultimately hunted down by the police and arrested for violating his probation for allegedly taking part in the return of fire. When it came to...
Después a él lo agarraron preso porque él no estaba supuesto a tener un arma. Él no estaba supuesto a poseer un arma y lo agarraron como que tirando para atrás.
For the actual assailants, on the other hand, the Miami police were quick to make the connection that they were likely YoungBoy's rivals from his home state of Louisiana, but their
Mi gente, probation es probatoria, por si acaso.
exact identities and motives would remain unknown for some time, although the online sleuths were quick to notice how Lit Yoshi had been posting himself on social media sliding around Miami, armed with the exact weaponry that the police would later connect to the shooters. Coming into
Ok, so uno de los miembros de 300 se posteó algunos videos donde él estaba en Miami con su arma. Así que puede ser como que él fue, alegadamente.
2020, the war would continue back in Baton Rouge, where on the 22nd of March 2020, a shooting would occur at the family home of
¿Por qué hay tigres que se paran así? ¿Qué es lo que?
37-year-old NBA affiliate named Travis Parker, known in the streets as T-Baby. T-Baby was shot and killed, while a 60
Le dieron para abajo a T-Baby. T-Baby era una de los miembros de NBA YoungBoy.
2-year-old woman believed to be his mother would be wounded, but survived. In the aftermath
Y le dieron a su mamá, pero ella sobrevivió. Él no.
of the shooting, fans would notice that TBG rapper Fredo Bang appeared to be trolling 4K Trey member YMM Captain by liking his tribute post to T-Baby, possibly hinting at TBG's involvement in the murder. Just like after Dump's killing, when
So, a él lo mataron porque él se estaba burlando de uno de los miembros de la otra ganga. Eso es lo que creo.
rapper Fredo Bang appeared to be trolling 4K Trey member YMM Captain by liking his tribute post to T-Baby, possibly hinting at TBG's involvement in the murder.
No. Él está... Espérense.
Fans would notice that TBG rapper Fredo Bang appeared to be trolling 4K Trey member YMM Captain by liking his tribute post to T-Baby, possibly hinting at TBG's involvement in the murder.
Ok, so uno de los otros miembros posteó una foto como que, tú sabes, como Rest in Peace, como atributo, y Fredo Bang, que es de la otra ganga, le dio like. Como que, tú sabes, burlándose.
Murder. Just like after Dump's killing, when Boulevard Quick was gunned down only months later in what many saw as retaliation, the revenge was about to come again, only this time it would only take 1 week. On Sunday the 29th of March 2020, a 36-year-old man was found shot to death in front of a Food Mart and gas station on the north side of Baton Rouge. Police would later identify the man as Jason Nixon, a well-known
Bueno, esa es la muerte de Jason Nixon. Parece que esa fue la venganza.
TBG affiliate, better known by his nickname Dutch, who had often been seen alongside TBG artists like Fredo Bang, Lit Yoshi, and Boulevard Sleepy. Dutch was also apparently known in the streets of Baton Rouge as a certified stepper who had been putting work in for likely a couple of decades at this point. TBG...
So, él es uno de los hitters y él tiene mucho tiempo ya en la calle. Parece que lo agarraron y lo usaron como venganza.
Members would post numerous tributes to Dutch on social media, while NBA and 4K Trey affiliates were exhilarated, with BBG Baby Joe immediately posting a story on Instagram with a caption saying how he knew that TBG were hurting, together with a foot emoji implying that 4K Trey had stepped on them, while Ben 10
Él está diciendo ahí como que burlándose. La gente de NBA YoungBoy pusieron algunos atributos y la gente de NBA YoungBoy como que subió una publicación burlándose de lo que pasó.
would later rejoice during an Instagram live, pointing out how TBG now had 3 dead members who they can't get back.
Y después entraron a un live de NBA YoungBoy donde, espérense.
Pointing out how TBG now had 3 dead members who they can't get back.
So, la gente de NBA YoungBoy subió a un live como burlándose de que ya tienen 3 miembros que le han dado para abajo y todavía no tienen un get back, todavía no hay venganza. Ok, ellos no lo pueden conseguir para atrás. Que no lo pueden conseguir para atrás.
Also in online theories, 4K Trey has commonly been connected to at least 3 murders against TBG.
Loco, pero el pueblo... Güey, pero la gente me sigue, yo sin estar online, qué bacano. El pueblo... Gracias, mi gente de YouTube. El pueblo, loco, hace una teoría, porque todos esos son los fans que están poniendo toda esa teoría. So, ahí están poniendo como que el timeline, básicamente, de los problemas de NBA YoungBoy y la otra ganga.
BG, the murder of Dutch being the third. YoungBoy himself would also make a similar reference in a...
Que la tercera fue la muerte de Dutch.
Song called 4K Trey 3 Style, which was officially released in 2022, but the actual recording time is somewhat unclear, with some sources claiming the song was actually recorded all the way back in 2019. But in the song, YoungBoy raps how his TBG ops were repping off of one body that they caught from NBA being Big Dump, whereas YoungBoy's gang had killed 3 of their homies, G Money, Boulevard Quick, and TBG Dutch. The most
Ahí NBA YoungBoy lo que lo usa como referencia, como que ustedes están perdiendo, nosotros ya le damos para abajo a 3 gente.
interesting lyrics from YoungBoy, however, would be on the song Trapped Out, which would be officially released on the 2025 compilation album More Leaks, but the song itself is likely much older. On this track, YoungBoy
Ahí están diciendo como que la canción fue vieja, que la canción en sí, como que él no se la dedicó a él.
first appears to reference the shooting in Miami, saying how they shot his whole car up before an infamous NBA member named Baba would step in. Baba, according to the wildest online rumors, is an actual contract killer with a room.
Él está diciendo como que a él, a NBA YoungBoy, le tiraron el carro, como que tú sabes, le entraron a bala al carro.
10 plus bodies, and according to these
Y Baba es como que un tirador de NBA YoungBoy que tiene más de 10, le ha dado para abajo más de 10 gente. Ya tú sabes.
lyrics, he's the one who shot back and got the enemy off of YoungBoy in the shootout at the Trump Hotel. Baba.
Y él fue que tiró para atrás. Baba. Como que en el tiroteo del hotel en Miami.
Real name Osama Eugene Manuel, and YoungBoy would indeed both be later charged in relation to the shooting by Mohammed Jaradi's family in a civil court, which actually...
So, hubo una corte civil y él fue como que uno de los... él y NBA YoungBoy fue como uno de los que agarraron.
actually named Baba Osama as YoungBoy's official security guard. But after these lyrics,
Y YoungBoy dijo como que Baba es como que su vamos a decir, su seguridad.
YoungBoy then continues rapping how people must have also heard about someone who got killed while pumping gas, saying how he pointed him out and got him out, which could in fact be seen to be yet another reference to Dutch. The implication...
So, ahí NBA YoungBoy le da otra barra a Dutch, donde él murió poniendo, tú sabes, poniendo gasolina en el carro.
being that Dutch was in fact killed at a gas station as retaliation for that Miami shooting. In online rumors, certain specific 4K Trey members have even been connected to the murder Miami shooting. In online rumors,
el hueso, el loco tiene una papada. Amo a mi gordito y mi gordita. No bulto, no le pare.
certain specific...
Rebajen, eso no es saludable. Rebajen. Yo era gordito.
4K Trey members have even been connected to the murder, like Herm from NBA and Chine from the Vultures, with some Baton Rouge drillologists even making dedicated posts labeling Herm as the killer of Dutch. Both Herm
Están diciendo como que fue Herm que le dio para abajo a Dutch.
and Chine have also participated in dissing Dutch personally following his death, with Herm...
Y Chine, el gordito, que él también le está tirando a Dutch. Se están burlando de él en las redes sociales. Yo creo que esto no va a ir bien.
rapping in his 2022 song Puff Puff how people say that he's a killer and how someone was acting like it was smoke until Herm and his partners rolled him up. Puff, how people say did in dissing Dutch personally following his death, with Herm
So, él le tiró unas canciones. Le tiró en las canciones también.
rapping in his 2022 song Puff Puff how people say that he's a killer and how someone was acting like it was smoke until Herm and his partners rolled him up. Herm then made...
A él está diciendo donde como que él le da para abajo a la gente de verdad y que había uno como actuando de que él era un matador hasta que él y los panas de él le dieron para abajo. Tú sabes, lo fumaron.
making a devilish play on words by saying that
Lo enrolaron básicamente, eso es lo que él dijo.
he's now smoking a big Dutch, a double entendre referring to both the Dutch Master's blunt raps and TBG Dutch himself. Chine
Que él ahora se está fumando a Big Dutch. Ya tú sabes.
on the other hand, would make several social media posts dissing Dutch. In one Instagram story, making his own version of the lyrics of Lil Durk's song Should Have Ducked, where Durk raps how he gets as high as Duck, referring to his dead rival FBG Duck, with Chine writing how he gets...
Ahí él usó como una famosa barra de Lil Durk, donde cuando le dieron para abajo a Duck, so, él usó como Dutch, como que tú tenías que bajarte, como que tú tenías que esquivar la bala y eso.
as high as Dutch. In another post, he would take the disrespect even further, actually taking a picture at the very gas station where Dutch was killed, while adding...
Y después él tomó otra falta de respeto bien grande cuando él se tiró una foto al frente de la estación de gasolina donde le dieron para abajo a Dutch.
a caption saying how he was at the same location where a gorilla had taken his last breath, referring to...
Que donde él está en el mismo location donde un gorila tuvo su último aliento.
Dutch's status as a member of the TBG, aka Top Boy Gorillas. In his song Chase Down, Lit Yoshi would also rap some interesting lyrics that seem to point squarely at NBA and 4K Trey, as he first pays tribute.
Lit Yoshi ahí tira una canción, parece hablando de lo mismo. Vamos allá.
To Dutch before saying how TBG caught someone in Yoshi's hood and did a drill, specifically mentioning a Jeep. Now it's not exactly clear whether Yoshi means that in Yoshi's hood and did a drill, as he first pays tribute to Dutch before saying how TBG caught someone in Yoshi's hood and did a drill, specifically mentioning a Jeep. Now it's
So ahí él está diciendo donde de la ganga rival, Yoshi, dice como él agarró en un carro y le dio para abajo a una gente, como que la ganga de él.
not exactly clear whether Yoshi means that he was sliding in a Jeep or his victims were, but interestingly, there was indeed one incident on April the 6th, 2020, only about a week after Dutch's murder, where Lit Yoshi.
So, después de la muerte de Dutch, hubo un incidente, un drive-by parece.
Yoshi and another man, allegedly Seven Hardaway, were caught on CCTV arriving at an apartment complex on the north side of Baton Rouge with a Jeep Cherokee before allegedly opening fire on 3 people. One of the
So fueron con un Jeep Cherokee y le dieron para abajo le tiraron a 3 personas. Vamos allá.
He's being none other than NBA member Lil Pap, real name DeAndre Fields, who would
So le tiraron a Lil Pap.
Eventually be charged with the murder of G Money. Clearly then,
Y después, espérate.
Rouge with a Jeep Cherokee before allegedly opening fire on 3 people.
Yeah, Lil Pap todavía no estaba preso ahí. So, por eso que dijeron como que eventualmente ahí lo agarraron con la... Porque fueron como años después.
One of these being none other than NBA member Lil Pap, real name DeAndre Fields, who would eventually be charged with the murder of G Money. Clearly then, Yoshi's lyrics seem to point to him very much holding NBA responsible for Dutch's murder. Still, officially the murder has...
So ahí Yoshi está diciendo como que fue la gente de NBA que le dieron para abajo.
Remained unsolved, and even almost a full year after the murder in February 2021, local news would report how the police were still looking for a motive. Lit Yoshi
Que la policía todavía está buscando un motivo. Ellos saben, ellos lo que dicen como que eso es problema de ganga.
himself, on the other hand, would eventually be charged with the shooting of Lil Pap and many others, getting hit.
Agarraron a Lil Yoshi con el tiroteo de Lil Pap. Ya tú sabes.
With a staggering 7 counts of attempted murder, with even the
DH, le dieron 7 intentos de asesinato.
Miami shooting targeting YoungBoy eventually becoming part of the case, and he would eventually plead guilty, receiving a 15-year sentence that he has since tried to get overturned
Mi gente, 15 años le dieron a ese.
unsuccessfully. But despite one of the most fearsome shooters from TBG being taken off the streets, YoungBoy's battles were far from over, and no doubt the attention he was getting from his ops in the streets was only made worse by the frequent lyrics that he was dropping, bragging about being responsible for these murders. In 2020, YoungBoy...
Ok, estamos viendo como la lírica de NBA YoungBoy donde él dice de que como que ustedes pueden ver que le han dado para abajo como que a mucha gente el 2020, 4, en agosto, 7, en septiembre, 5. ¿Cómo así? Pero bajó. Y después subió a 7. En septiembre 20, ok.
dropped several songs where his body count seemed to rise rapidly. Of course, this was likely because
Oh, pero eso en una canción. No, eso en diferentes canciones.
many of those tracks just happened to drop that year, not because of all the murders actually occurred during that time. In April 2020, the song Step On was released, together with a music video to promote YoungBoy's
Step On. So es una canción de
38 Baby 2 mixtape that dropped later that month.
Step On, mi gente, stepping in o stepping, básicamente tiene mucho significado. Uno puede, literalmente, es como que cuando tú estás, vamos a decir que alguien te dio, ¿verdad? Y como que tú que tú no tienes miedo, que tú le das, que tú vas a cazar. Es básicamente como cazar. Vamos como que definiéndolo a español. Es como cazando, como stepping, I'm stepping. Y tú sabes, vamos a decir, si tú te caes o lo que sea y yo te pongo el pie encima, I'm stepping on you. ¿Me entiendes? Eso es lo que pasa.
In the song, YoungBoy claimed to now have 4 bodies, which based on our list so far, could be referring to any combination of them, depending on when this song was recorded. Then, in September 2020, YoungBoy dropped the song Big Bankroll as part of his Top album. However, according to Genius, this song was actually already teased by YoungBoy as far back as July the 29th, 2019. In this song, YoungBoy appeared to imply to already have 5.
Él dijo como que, ok, esta canción fue él como que juega con la mente de la gente, porque él dice como que yo tengo 5, tengo 4, tengo 7, ¿me entiendes?
Bodies, and by late 2020, the public body count had grown to 7, as mentioned on the song Hurt Somebody, which YoungBoy reportedly premiered on his Instagram Live on August the 22nd, 2020. However, the much more famous example
Y ahí fue como que subió. Jugando con la mente de la gente.
Is of course the song Dead Trolls, which he released on the same Top album as the song Big Bankroll, dropping the music video for the song the same day the album was released in September 2020. Here,
es otra canción donde le tiró un video musical, Dead Trolls, y dice ahí que tiene 7.
YoungBoy even specifies that all of these 7 murders supposedly happened in his hometown of Baton Rouge. Interestingly,
que eso fue la vez como que King Von le dijo como que qué es lo que contigo y vaina. Como que tú no eres de nada.
The song has been seen as a diss towards the rapper King Von, who YoungBoy was beefing heavily with around this time, and King Von would famously...
Eso fue como que donde... eso fue cuando NBA YoungBoy y King Von tenían los problemas.
Also claimed to have 7 bodies of his own. Now, I'm pretty much the internet's leading expert on King Von at this point, as I broke down all 7 of his rumored murders that he'd been involved in a 3.5-hour video where I labeled him a serial killer. It's my personal opinion.
Sí, mi gente, él está diciendo ahí como que él investigó cada una de las muertes de King Von y ahí fue donde él dice como que él de verdad le da para abajo a la gente.
That King Von did indeed personally murder 7 people as part of his own participation in a Chicago gang war. However, if you want to go as far as to include murders that he might have ordered, like that of Tuckerville's Man Man, aka Get Right, or murders that he allegedly funded, like the hit on FBG Duck, you could make an argument that he might be responsible for 9 to 12 murders. But during...
Ahí está diciendo como que él dice como de la matanza que King Von ha hecho personalmente, pero si tú quieres incluir la matanza de que él también como que ha dado dinero o como que ha estado ahí o ha estado cerca de ahí o algo así, como que no fue él que le tiró, pero vamos a decir él manejó type shit, you know, se puede hacer como que 9 a 11.
In 2020, when Von burst onto the scene amid claims that he had 7 bodies under his belt, he quickly became the most buzzing gangster rapper in the scene. This just so happened to be the time when...
Eso fue como una lírica que él dijo, una barra, donde él dijo de que, tengo 7, le he dado para abajo a 7 gente y soy como que el mayor gante, el de la música y vaina.
When YoungBoy was beginning to drop lyrics where he too would brag about having 7 bodies. It seems to me that there was a...
ahí es donde como que ellos tienen una competencia, donde NBA YoungBoy dice como que, tú dices que tienes 7, yo tengo 7 de verdad, que sí, okay.
Degree of insecurity on both sides when it came to Von and YoungBoy, leading to a twisted rivalry and competition about who was the biggest killer. But with YoungBoy, it's safe...
A sinceridad, mi NBA YoungBoy es duro musicalmente y también, tú sabes, tiene su respeto en la calle, pero King Von hizo toda esa cosa, ¿me entiendes? Hay muertes que son verificadas de él. NBA YoungBoy obviamente con poder y tiene gente detrás, tiene mucho poder, puede, tú sabes, darle para abajo a una gente, pero no es lo mismo tú ir que darle para abajo, ¿me entiendes?
Safe to say that things are much more complicated because as he is all...
Okay, no es lo mismo. No es lo mismo tú dar el dinero que tú ir. A eso me expliqué, coño.
Also said in his songs, he wasn't the actual trigger man in any of these murders, but rather just the one paying for them. I believe that King Von disliked YoungBoy because he didn't believe his claims of having bodies to be valid.
Ahí él está diciendo básicamente lo que yo dije y él dijo que King Von de seguro como que se molestaba con NBA YoungBoy porque él decía como que su cuerpo como que no eran como que no eran válidos.
Considering that he was paying hitmen and claiming the murders his crew was doing, unlike King.
Él está, básicamente él está diciendo como que él le está pagando a la gente y él está como que diciendo que él fue que le dio para abajo cuando no es así.
Von, who had seemingly got his hands dirty and personally killed 7 times. Unfortunately, the rivalry between YoungBoy and Von would get very complicated, as Von would provoke YoungBoy by taking photos with the mother of his child, Jania.
Y ahí, King Von provocó a YoungBoy, tú sabes, porque se estaba tirando fotos con la mujer o la mamá de uno de los hijos de NBA YoungBoy.
Interestingly, after this, one of YoungBoy's most feared enforcers, NBA Ben 10, would actually promise to kill Von for what Jania did with him, but ultimately...
Ahí está diciendo, Ben 10 está diciendo como que él promete darle para abajo a Von por la cosa que él hizo, como que provocando a NBA YoungBoy.
That wouldn't even be necessary, as unfortunately, King Von underestimated the situation when he attempted to embarrass YoungBoy by beating up his artist, Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, who had signed to the NBA label, as the story...
Ahí fue, él está diciendo como que ustedes saben la historia de King Von, donde él fue a un artista de NBA YoungBoy y le entró a trompar, tú sabes, porque tenían, no sé si tenían problemas Quando Rondon y King Von, yo creo que sí. Y para los que no saben, Quando Rondon estaba bien antes hasta con Lil Durk. Y después, Lil Tim le tiró a King Von. Pero King Von es muy bueno, era muy bueno peleando. Y por eso fue que Lil Tim como que fue a, tú sabes, le sacó la pistola y le dio. Pero ni siquiera era con él que estaban peleando.
Goes, Quando was being protected that night by Lil Tim, a notorious shooter in his own right with rumored bodies of his own in his home city of Savannah, Georgia.
Ese era básicamente el seguridad de Quando Rondo.
Tim ended up shooting Von dead that night, protecting Quando Rondo's safety and arguably YoungBoy's reputation. But for the purposes...
Esto es lo que yo digo, mi gente. Que una persona, vamos a decir, oh, fulano no es de nada, pero eso no significa que él no tiene gente de que sean de algo. Eso es lo que pasa, para proteger su imagen. Eso es lo que hacen, lo hacen muchos artistas, lo hacen gente, tú sabes, que tiene poder, lo hace mucho, porque tú no me vas a arruinar mi imagen.
Of this video, we're not going to count King Von's killing as a body on YoungBoy's tally. YoungBoy has certainly taken a liking to Lil Tim.
Que en este video él no va a contar como que la muerte de King Von como que si fue NBA YoungBoy que lo hizo.
As a result of this, though, seemingly bringing him on the Master Tour and using him as frontline protection after seeing him prove himself on Von. But even
después NBA YoungBoy como que se lo estaba llevando para todos los lados tú sabes, como a los estadios en su gira, porque él contó como defensa personal la cosa que pasó con Lil Tim.
Brushing aside taking out Chicago's most feared killer and adding yet another certified killer to his own entourage, unfortunately for YoungBoy's enemies, his contract business would seemingly continue like clockwork, because within 2 years of King Von's death, the number of bodies that he claimed responsibility for had almost doubled, rising to a staggering 12 bodies by...
Ahí él dice después como que yo le da para abajo a 12 gente en el 2022 en sus canciones.
2022. The year that this song dropped, where he claimed to have 12 bodies, was an incredibly violent year, where an insane total of 6 of YoungBoy's enemies would all end up losing their lives back to back.
So, en ese año, 6 de la gente de YoungBoy terminó perdiendo su vida.
The summer of 2020 in gangster rap was truly a battle of the bodies, with both King Von and YoungBoy puffing out their chests and setting the internet on fire by both claiming to have been responsible for 7 murders. Despite King Von being the more certified killer with documented proof of his back-to-back murders, he was unfortunately caught out of bounds and ended up losing his life, just like many did before.
Es lo que está dando un resumen de lo que pasó con King Von.
Of NBA, Floyd wasn't satisfied with being top of the killer rapper leaderboard and vowed to add more bodies to his tally. He famously rapped the chilling lines in his 2021 song Forgiato that a rapper, most likely Von, wanted him dead, but he'd taken their soul, and that at this...
Ahí él está diciendo como que Von lo quería muerto, pero él agarró su alma.
At this point, he had over 7 kills to his name and intended to surpass 10 bodies so that he could begin counting murders on his toes. And in the
Ahí es una barra diciendo como que él tenía 7 al nombre de él, pero él quiere llegar a más de 10. O él quiere llegar a 10 y que para contar, o a más de 10 y que para contarlo con los dedos de los pies. Ya tú sabes.
Summer of 2021, there would be yet another murder that's been connected to YoungBoy's 4K tray, but this one has by and large remained a mystery with very little information available online. But here's what we do know. On the night of June the 11th, 2021, 18-year-old Cornell McDuffie, also known in his circle as Nell, was involved in a single car crash on East I-10 near Essex.
So él tuvo un accidente, ese Nell, ese de la ganga rival. Por lo morado me estoy dando cuenta, vamos a ver.
Lane around 11:34 p.m. Immediately following the crash, officers found McDuffie lying in a grassy area near the crash scene, while 3 others attempted to flee on foot. Subsequently,
Okay, como que lo vieron cerca ahí, como que él trató de salir y lo vieron como en el grass, como en el césped.
3 people were arrested, but they were uncooperative, while McDuffie was
agarraron a 3 personas, o 2 personas.
On foot. Subsequently, the 3 people were arrested.
Ahí dice que, ahí dice 2, pero el narrador dice que fueron 3 personas que agarraron, pero no querían cooperar.
But they were uncooperative, while McDuffie was transported to a nearby hospital where he later died from his injuries.
Y lo llevaron a un hospital, pero él después murió por sus injuries. So, injuries, so... Dame ver. So, lo llevaron a un hospital, pero él después murió por sus lesiones.
Police connected the crashed car to a shooting that had taken place right before the crash about 3 miles west on the 2200 block of Ballas Drive, which is why the local newspaper The Advocate would first report that Nell had died due to a gunshot wound. However, an autopsy
Ahí después dijeron como que fue por un tiro, por una lesión de un tiro, que murió. Él tenía 18 años.
would reveal no gunshot wounds, meaning that Nell's fatal injuries were in fact from the car crash itself.
Ok, que después estaban diciendo que no, que fue por el accidente de carro.
Following Cornell's death, his balloon release was held in Gardir, one of the strongholds of the 300 Alliance, and later on, members of 300, including their perhaps most well-known rapper, Rel Bang, would engage in an interesting conversation with some 4K train members on the Clubhouse app, during which YoungBoy's alleged cousin, Hu Gang D, aka Scully, seemed to reference a shooting incident like the one that had preceded Nell's death, but
Ok, so ese es un primo de NBA YoungBoy y parece que entraron en vivo con la ganga opuesta. Vamos allá.
calling the dead person Cornelius, possibly mispronouncing Cornell's name while saying that he had put the iron on that boy and gunned him down.
Hey, look, hanging out the one that's trying to flush him on the interstate. I'm telling you.
Hey, now you were hanging out that window. So now you were hanging out that window.
Él está diciendo que él le dio para abajo, que fue él que le dio para abajo. O se está burlando de eso.
Hey, say, pull up that 06. Hey, look, Hey, call Ben, call him.
Man, you boy, ain't your work, man. Stop ripping.
Él está diciendo que ese no es tu trabajo, como que deja de estar diciendo que eso fue, que se fue.
I don't do no rapping. I don't gotta rap.
Él está diciendo que él no do no rapping, como que él no está representando, que
Hey, and I put your people Cornelius up.
Hey, where you at?
Dice que dónde tú estás, ahí va.
Yeah, man. You ain't kill that man. You ain't kill
Él está diciendo que no fuiste tú que le diste para abajo.
that man. Hit that man in his leg.
Como que tú le diste para abajo, que tú le diste en la pierna.
Gun them down. Hit him with that
flash.
Hit him with that.
Get him in the leg for dance.
Mi gente, algo que es bien interesante. Ellos se hablan así, los enemigos, como en vivo y de todo.
Around this for real. Hey, say real, man. Hey, man,
Que tú lo que eres un jugador de basquetbol.
Hey, say that. Thought he was spinning, nigga, chased him down. Now he in the grave.
Hey, say, y'all be going to the most
Ellos lo que se están insultando ahí.
Man, who gang these boy? Like,
put the people up. Yeah, man, put the iron on the plate like I'm blind.
Está diciendo como que tenemos demasiado verde aquí. Tú sabes, refiriéndose a la gente de YoungBoy.
Yeah! Boy, Where you at?
Because of this, even Redditors would claim D to be the killer of Cornelius, although it seems that in reality,
Ahí están diciendo que fue D el que le dio para abajo, pero
whether D had been part of the shooting incident that preceded Nell's death, the real cause of his death was the car crash.
Pero en realidad la verdadera causa de que él muriera fue un accidente de carro.
Hu Gang D's nickname Scully is something he seems incredibly proud of, and during
Ahí mismo, mi gente, NBA YoungBoy parece como que está orgulloso de Scully.
interviews, he's inferred that he earned this nickname through either shooting someone in the skull or catching a skull via a shooting.
The nicknames.
Ahí Scully porque dije que le dio para abajo a una gente, como que le dio en su skull, tú sabes, en su cráneo.
Scully.
From that first answer, from this tattoo, I'm just saying like that. The gang
Que le dio para abajo, mira, en su cráneo.
shooting the skull.
Yeah.
It's good.
Perhaps he's referring to a different murder, or maybe he's false.
Que maybe se está refiriendo a otro tipo de, tú sabes, a otra matanza, pero
claiming the murder of Cornell, but arguably, if shooting the car up caused the death directly, then you could argue it's legitimate for him to claim responsibility for the murder. But what we do...
Están diciendo como que él tirarle al carro es algo alegadamente, pero él es el que está diciendo como que fue que él que le dio para abajo y él es de la gente de NBA YoungBoy. Usualmente la gente de la calle lo dicen, lo hacen como que alegadamente.
know is that Scully had discussed numerous incidents where he was shot and almost lost his life, as he proudly states that at least one person who shot him is indeed dead.
Él está diciendo como que una de las personas que le tiraron, aunque sea, está muerta.
When you got shot in the face, that was the craziest that you...
That did. He ain't coming back.
Él está diciendo como que, tú sabes, como él está muerto y él no va a venir para atrás. El que le tiró a él.
Let's leave him in the past. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Another
Como que tú lo puedes dejar en el pasado y eso.
4K Trey member called Who Gang Tay Life, or Tayski, whose name will become very familiar as this video progresses, also rapped in his 2024 song Blockbender,
Ese otro miembro de NBA YoungBoy.
featuring the young 4K Trey affiliate 38 Young'un, how someone had tried to follow them on the interstate, so they shot them with a Draco, seemingly...
Está diciendo como que alguien lo estaba tratando de perseguir en básicamente en el highway y él le tiró con el Draco.
Describing the events that preceded the death of Nell. Ultimately, before the year would come to an end, the 4K Trey shooters would allegedly catch one more body, this being yet another occasion where the motive for the murder went years back, proving that when it comes to NBA 4K Trey, Get Back really has no expiry date.
Y ahí fue donde agarraron a otro más que le dieron para abajo. Smith Michael Wright.
Like the murder of Lil Dave's alleged killer, the motive of the next murder would also stem back to YoungBoy's past, more specifically, the murder of his cousin Boozilla in November 2016. The murder was never officially solved, but rumors quickly begun circulating who might have been responsible. One name that surfaced early was FL Dusa, a rapper from a clique called Forever Loyalty, who would later become closely affiliated with TBG, with Dusa dropping numerous songs with TBG.
So, Dusa era parte de TBG. Vamos allá.
Artists like Fredo Bang and Lit Yoshi. Dusa and Boozilla had been beefing heavily in the lead up to his death, with Boozilla dissing Dusa in his July 2016 song
So, Boozilla le estaba tirando a Dusa.
Give Me, rapping how Dusa was scared to walk through the South and that they were laying down the law in their area, and following Boozilla.
Que están diciendo que Dusa tiene miedo como de estar en el sur.
Death, the comment section of the song's music video would fill up with replies mocking him for making these statements, which implied that Dusa had in fact not been scared to walk through the South and had in fact come through to kill Boozilla. But despite these rumors,
Él están diciendo como que él no tiene miedo, como que la gente reaccionando, de que ¿qué miedo va a tener ese? De que di para allá.
Dusa was never officially connected to Boozilla's murder. In early 2017, the Baton Rouge police would arrest two men in connection to the murder, Trayshawn Coates and Monty Carey, but these
agarraron esos dos porque le dieron para abajo a Busa.
These arrests wouldn't amount to much, as both men were ultimately not indicted by the grand jury, who left the door open for more evidence to be found in the future. Unfortunately,
Okay, so lo que hicieron fue que de indictment, como que le cayeron, la policía le cayó para tratar como más, para tener más evidencia. Oh, no, so le negaron el indictment para tener más evidencia, como para, básicamente como para dejar que ellos, a lo que se refieren es que la policía a veces necesita como que la aprobación de un juez para ir a llenar una casa, a llenar tu lugar y eso, pero muchas veces el juez te lo niega como, oh, no tenemos suficiente evidencia todavía. Entonces hay que conseguir más evidencia.
Indicted by the grand jury, who left the door open for more evidence to be found in the future. Unfortunately, such evidence would seemingly never come, and officially the case remains unsolved. However, on the 10th of December 2021, a murder would take place that, at least in online theories, would later be connected to the murder of Boozilla. That night, around 6
Ok, vamos a ver ahora, porque parece que ahora van a contar la muerte de Boozilla.
p.m., a 22-year-old man named Michael Riley was gunned down while sitting in a car at the intersection of River Road and Brightside Drive. But what would make this murder particularly tragic was that Riley had been sitting on the backseat of the car together with his 5-year-old nephew, who would also get hit during the shooting, and both Riley and his nephew would die from their injuries.
Wow, so Riley y el sobrino de él murieron en ese accidente. Pero ¿qué pasó con Boozilla?
The victims were 22-year-old Michael Riley and his nephew, 5-year-old Carson Riley. Officials say both victims were passengers in a car.
The police would soon come to a conclusion that this had been a targeted attack, but they weren't aware of any suspects or motives.
Individuals that pulled up next to this vehicle and opened fire intended to shoot the individuals that were in this car.
Police. Ok, como que le querían dar a todas las personas que estaban en ese carro, que fue como que algo de maldad.
Not yet able to pinpoint a motive or any suspects. This, the latest investigation in a record year for homicides.
So, todavía no encontraron, tú sabes, como los sospechosos o motivos, todavía.
This double murder too has gone unsolved, but online sleuths would eventually come up with some interesting theories. A key role in these theories points to yet another 4K Trey affiliate called BB4L Nolan, a son of a legendary underground rapper from Baton Rouge called Percy Keith, and allegedly...
So, ese es el hijo de Percy Keith, que era un rapero de allá de Luisiana. Y parece como que están diciendo que fue él alegadamente que le dio para abajo.
A nephew of none other than the rapper Kevin Gates. Nolan had been making a
So es sobrino de Kevin Gates ese.
Career as a rapper since about 2019 when he was released from juvie at just 14 years old, but it was his 2020
So él estaba en el juvenile, como que en la cárcel de jóvenes, a 14 años. Lo sacaron.
Two song, Come Here, that would pique the interest of online sleuths as he rapped some truly wild lyrics about catching someone in traffic before adding how it's F that little boy too. The streets would talk and eventually...
Ahí él está hablando de que como le dio para abajo a alguien en el tráfico y le dio para abajo también al niño. Diach.
Rumors begun spreading online that these lyrics were Nolan talking about the murder that was Get Back for Boozilla, and given how detailed these lyrics were...
Okay. Ahí están diciendo, pero el nombre el nickname de él es Busila. Ya entendí ya. Porque yo estaba perdido porque Busila y presentaron como otra gente.
It was only a matter of time before they were connected to the double murder of Michael Riley, who was also known by his nickname Smiz, as well as the death of his nephew. But the most shocking thing is that YoungBoy himself would allegedly mention and confirm these murders in songs that released over the next year. The first example...
Ok, parece que NBA YoungBoy comenzó como que a hablar de esa muerte en su canción.
Came only 2 months later in the track Neighborhood Superstar from his joint album with DaBaby titled Better Than You. In this song, YoungBoy would brag about turning the beats of his music into homicides and ending his second verse outright saying that he left 9 bodies in his town. However,
que ya lleva 9 cuerpos, ya tú sabes. Porque parece que como fue miembro de la ganga de él que le dio para abajo.
However, the hit on Smiz that took the life of his 5-year-old nephew would seemingly be directly referenced much later in his December 2022 song titled This Not a Song, This For My Supporters, where YoungBoy updates his body count to 12 before adding how there's also 1 child dead, who YoungBoy seems...
Ahí él está diciendo como que tengo 12 cuerpos y también hay un niño. Wow, loco.
Seemingly isn't including in his overall body count this child allegedly being the nephew of Riley, with YoungBoy then adding how he said to stop the violence, almost as if
ahí fue cuando él estaba diciendo como que pare la violencia,
implying that his body count is not something he wants to brag about, but rather just the unfortunate reality of the situation that his gangster rap career had placed him in. This song...
Él está diciendo como que ya no es algo como que yo quiero, tú sabes, como presumir, ya algo como que ya yo quiero parar. Él tuvo un tiempo como que con eso, en verdad.
Appeared to echo a broader message that YoungBoy had been pushing in late 2022. Around the same time, in November, he even posted a somewhat strange video on social media, grinning from ear to ear while repeatedly urging his followers to stop the violence, which some people took as a serious plea, while others thought that YoungBoy was simply trolling.
Ahí él está diciendo como que él subió un video diciendo como que pare la violencia, donde los fans estaban pensando como que él estaba relajando con eso, y algunos también se lo tomaron en serio.
Hey, stop the violence. Hey, look at me. I could promise you it's a bigger side of life. Stop the violence.
Él está diciendo como que mírame a mí, yo te puedo prometer como que hay algo mejor en esta vida, mírame a mí como ejemplo. Para la violencia.
You could be a rich, you hear me? I could promise.
Que tú puedes ser rico también.
You, I'm talking about, I ain't gonna tell you what's in my bank account, but hey, stop.
Él está diciendo, yo no te voy a decir cuánto hay en mi cuenta, pero tú sabes, para la violencia, tú puedes llegar a ser grande también.
The violence, you hear me? Thank you.
The song, This Not a Song, This For My Supporters, as a whole is one of the strangest songs in YoungBoy's discography, consisting of over 8 minutes of YoungBoy's rapping and talking that often sounds like a pure stream of consciousness, as YoungBoy then continues the lyrics by implying that he doesn't actually want to beef with his ops.
La canción se llama Esto no es una canción, esto es para mí, para la gente que me apoyan. Y dicen, déjame ver.
Hurt them before seemingly giving his quick analysis of violence in Baton Rouge, connecting it to the with his ops and hurt them before as YoungBoy then continues the lyrics by implying that he doesn't actually want to beef with his ops and hurt them before seemingly giving his quick analysis of violence in Baton Rouge, connecting.
Él está diciendo como que no le quiere, él no quiere hacerle daño a su enemigo. Mi gente. Oigan que lo que voy a dejar el video hasta aquí por ahora. Si ustedes quieren la parte 2, denle like, suscríbanse, ¿ok? Vengo con la parte 2.